Yeah, I didn't know. And then say, like that, we just like, and it's about, just had to say, I want to get my picture taken there.
You're a big plan side. I think you are.
Everybody sit. Good evening, everybody. I would like to call, make sure everybody's here. I'd like to open the meeting for the Healdsburg City Council for September 15th, 2025. Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Edwards.
Yeah.
Councilmember Higley.
Here.
Councilmember Kelly. Here. Vice Mayor Harrod.
Here, and our Mayor Mitchell is not present with us this evening. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
The flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The agenda is approved. There was no closed session to report on. And so we can move into announcements and presentations, starting with a proclamation for California Native American Day. Councilmember Edwards, please.
A proclamation of the City Council of the City of Healdsburg proclaiming September 26, 2025 as California Native American Day in the City of Healdsburg. Whereas the City of Healdsburg recognizes that we are on ancestral lands of the Southern Pomo and Wapo people, that this land was historically unjustly taken during the settlement of Euro-Americans, and that the rich history of our indigenous community, past, present, and future, should be recognized, respected, and honored. And whereas the City of Healdsburg expresses its gratitude to the original stewards of this land for establishing natural, mutually beneficial relationships with the earth without the intent for commoditization or exploitation. And the City of Healdsburg acknowledges the historical attempts to degrade the Native people, tribes, and lands from which the effects are still felt today in the lived experiences of our indigenous community members. And whereas the City of Healdsburg recognizes the necessity to include indigenous voices in city governments and planning consistent with our values and community and diversity, and acknowledges we have a responsibility to establish and make visible the city's relationships to Native people. And Native American Day began in California in 1939, and in 1968, California tribal leaders and the governor declared the fourth Friday of September as California Indian Day. And whereas September 26, 2025 is the day to honor the tribes of California for their accomplishments, outstanding achievements, and contributions both historically and cultural to our community, and whereas Native Americans continue to play an invaluable role in enriching our community's culture with a long and esteemed heritage, as well as being an integral part of our rich diversity. And the wisdom and craft traditions of Native Americans hold important values for our community and have helped to make our community stronger and more prosperous. And whereas we celebrate the richness of the tribal history and traditions and the impact Native American cultures have had upon every American. And And whereas in observance of Native American Day, the City Council of the City of Healdsburg encourages all citizens to join in recognizing the accomplishments and contributions Native Americans have made to our city, and salute those who have sought to honor the important role of tribal leaders in our city's past, present, and future. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the City Council of Healdsburg proclaims September 26, 2025 as California Native American Day in the City of Healdsburg.
All right, thank you. Moving on to our next proclamation recognizing Latin American Heritage Month with Councilmember Kelly, please.
A proclamation of the City Council of the City of Healdsburg declaring September 15th to October 15th, 2025 as Latin American Heritage Month. Whereas the United States observes National Hispanic Heritage Month annually to celebrate the culture, heritage, and countless contributions of those with Latin American ancestry. And whereas recent federal immigration policies have increased detentions and deportations and curtailed asylum rights, policies that disrupt families and communities nationally and underscore the importance of cities like Healdsburg affirming their commitment to welcoming and supporting all community members. Whereas in 2023, the City Council of Healdsburg formally approved a comprehensive diversity, equity, and inclusion plan focused on promoting inclusivity, supporting local labor, advancing housing equity, and providing DEI training for city staff. And whereas this work aims to cultivate an inclusive and equitable community foundation that benefits all current and future generations of Healdsburg residents. And whereas today Latin Americans are integral to Healdsburg's identity, with 33% of our broader population and 65% of our school district students identifying as Hispanic or Latino. And whereas despite the active participation of Latin Americans in the neighborhoods, schools, economic sectors, and political leadership of Healdsburg, Latin Americans remain underrepresented and underserved in our community. Whereas Latin Americans continue to enrich Healdsburg's cultural, educational, economic, and political landscape with their diverse contributions and perspectives. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the City Council of the City of Healdsburg hereby proclaims September 15th to October 15th, 2025 as Latin American Heritage Month and encourages all residents of Healdsburg to share in this special annual tribute by learning about and celebrating the generations of Latin Americans who have influenced and enriched our community.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome Cristal Lopez Pardo from Corazon Healdsburg to receive the proclamation and say a few words, please. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I want to ask respectfully if I can read it in Spanish today. It appears that the interpretation was not working, and so during the proclamation, the members of the audience who are Latin American and of Latin American descent weren't able to hear it in Spanish. Is that okay?
I think it's fine, and we do have translation services available if we want to take a moment to help set that up. Would that?
Yeah. So
welcome?
the members of the public do have an interpretation device, and it's not working.
Oh, it's not working. Okay, that's unfortunate. Okay.
Yeah, it was in English on the audio as well.
Got it.
So if we
Thank
could
you.
fix that, that would be amazing.
Yeah,
In the meantime, if it's okay, I'll read this in Spanish.
please do.
Una proclamación del Consejo Municipal de la Ciudad de Healdsburg, declarando del 15 de septiembre al 15 de octubre del 2025 como el mes de la herencia latinoamericana. Considerando que los Estados Unidos conmemoran anualmente el Mes Nacional de la Herencia Latinoamericana para celebrar la cultura, el patrimonio y las innumerables contribuciones de aquellos con ascendencia latinoamericana. Y considerando que las recientes políticas federales de inmigración han incrementado las detenciones y deportaciones y han restringido a los derechos de asilo, políticas que afectan a familias y comunidades a nivel nacional. Y subrayan a la importancia de las ciudades como Healdsburg, aficen su compromiso a recoger y apoyar a todos los miembros de la comunidad. Y considerando que en el 2023 el Consejo Municipal de Healdsburg aprobó formalmente el Plan Integral de Diversidad, Equidad e Inclusión, enfocando en promover la inclusión, apoyar el trabajo local, avanzar en la equidad habitacional y proveer capacitación de DEI para el personal del municipio. Considerando que ese trabajo tiene como objetivo cultivar una base comunitaria, inclusiva e equitativa que beneficie a todas las generaciones presentes y futuras de residentes de Healdsburg. Y considerando que los latinoamericanos son parte integral de la identidad de Healdsburg, representando hoy el 27% de nuestra población general y el 65% de estudiantes de nuestro distrito escolar, que se identifican como hispanos o latinos. Y considerando que, a pesar de la participación activa de los latinoamericanos en los vecindarios, en las escuelas, sectores económicos, liderazgo político de Healdsburg, los latinoamericanos siguen estando subrepresentados e insuficientemente atendidos en nuestra comunidad. Y considerando que los latinoamericanos continúan enriqueciendo el panorama cultural, educativo, económico y político de Healdsburg con sus diversas contribuciones y perspectivas. Ahora, por lo tanto, se proclama que el Consejo Municipal de la ciudad de Healdsburg, por la presente proclama del 15 de septiembre al 15 de octubre como el mes de la herencia latinoamericana y alienta a todos los residentes de Healdsburg a participar en este tributo anual especial, aprendiendo sobre y celebrando las generaciones latinoamericanos que han influido y enriquecido nuestra comunidad. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
I do have some words that I wanted to share both in Spanish and English. On behalf of Corazon Healdsburg and our whole community, we are deeply honored to accept the proclamation declaring September 15th to October 15th as Latin American Heritage Month here in Healdsburg, and want to thank the City Council for recognizing the contributions of Latin Americans in shaping Healdsburg. Culture and heritage don't belong to just one person or one group. There's something we all share and keep together. This month is a chance for all of us to celebrate the many ways Latin Americans of the past and the present make our city what it is, and to honor the stories and the experiences that too often go unseen. For those of us who are Latin American, this proclamation and this month offer us visibility, representation, and the chance to publicly honor our history. At the same time, it is an earnest invitation to all of our neighbors to open their hearts and to connect with each other and to discover and celebrate the riches of our cultures together, because our roots run deep and our future is shared. Nos sentimos profundamente honrados, Corazón Healdsburg y nuestra comunidad, en aceptar esta proclamación que declara del 15 de septiembre al 15 de octubre como el mes de la herencia latinoamericana aquí en Healdsburg. Y queremos agradecer al Consejo Municipal por reconocer las contribuciones de los latinoamericanos en la formación de Healdsburg. La cultura y la herencia no nos pertenecen solo a una persona o a un grupo. Son algo que todos compartimos y mantenemos vivos juntos. Este mes es la oportunidad para que todos celebremos las diversas formas en que los latinoamericanos del pasado y del presente hacen que nuestra ciudad sea lo que es, y para honrar las historias y las experiencias que con frecuencia no se ven. Para quienes somos latinoamericanos, esta proclamación y este mes nos ofrecen visibilidad, representación y la oportunidad de honrar públicamente nuestra historia. Al mismo tiempo, es una invitación sincera para que todos nuestros vecinos abran sus corazones y se conecten entre sí, y para que descubran y celebren juntos la riqueza de nuestras culturas, porque nuestras raíces son profundas y nuestro futuro es compartido. Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you very much. And please stick around. We'll do a photo after the next proclamation.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So the third final proclamation for this evening is recognition of Sunday with Councilmember Hagley, please.
All right, a proclamation of the City Council of the City of Healdsburg declaring September 21, 2025 as Sun Day in the City of Healdsburg. Whereas solar and wind energy and the batteries to store their power when the wind drops or the sun goes down are the fastest growing sources of energy in the world. And solar and wind energy are now the cheapest ways to produce power on planet Earth, offering a path to lower utility bills, energy independence, and long-term affordability for residents and businesses alike. And America is the birthplace of solar energy, having seen the invention of the solar cell in 1954 at Bell Labs and the birthplace, as well as utility scale wind with the 1940s wind turbine on Grandpa's Knob, Vermont. And solar and wind are proving to be key components of a diversified grid, especially in times of high demand and other stress on utilities. And the city of Healdsburg has its own floating solar project completed in 2021, providing 8% of the city's annual electrical needs, and at the time was the nation's largest floating project in the United States. The transition to clean energy creates high-quality jobs with some of the most rapid growth in the U.S. economy, employing more than 3.5 million Americans, supports local economies, improves public health by reducing air and water pollution, and helps build a more just and resilient future for all. The climate crisis presents an urgent threat to health, safety, and economic well-being of communities across the country and around the world, with impacts including extreme weather, rising temperatures, and increased pollution. And a national network of organizations has declared September 20th through 21st as, quote, Sunday, a celebration and call to action to increase solar and wind power. And towns and cities across the United States, faith communities, grassroots groups, clean energy experts, solar industry and worker organizations, schools, affordable housing activists, advocates, farmers, and creative partners will gather together on Sunday to celebrate the power of renewable energy, activate others to support clean energy future, and support a transition away from fossil fuels. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the City Council declares September 21, 2025 as Sunday in the city of Healdsburg and encourages all community members to celebrate clean energy and work together to build a sustainable future by the sun.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome Tyra Benoit from Climate Action Healdsburg to receive the proclamation and say a few words.
First, I'd like to start by saying thank you to all of you for your service. I know that these are difficult times in which to serve as elected officials, and we want to recognize your courage and commitment. I also hope, Erica, that she will translate the proclamation into Spanish, because as I saw in the agenda, it wasn't in Spanish. So I guess you have to do that. Because Eric is a big part of Sunday as well. So thank you, Mayor Herod and Healdsburg City Council members, for supporting our Sunday efforts. Climate Action Healdsburg is very proud of all the activities that we have planned this week, including a tour of the solar array that David Hagley mentioned. You do have to RSVP for that tour. So if anyone in the chambers wants to come, we have some information about that. We also have a lot of other activities that are happening almost every day this week leading up to Sunday. And I'd also like to recognize Tara Sampson for her work helping us to plan some of these activities that involve city staff. That gratitude also extends to Patrick Fuss and Rob Skates. Patrick will be joining us tomorrow night at the 222 for an evening of uplifting our spirits. And Rob will obviously be giving the tour on Thursday with Tara. So we really, truly are trying to lift people up. In that vein, I want to inspire you with a couple of statistics. I'm wondering if you know, and this is according to the Climate Reality Project and Bill McKibben, founder of 350.org, that 96%, I'm going to say that again, 96% of the global demand for new electricity last year was met with renewables. That's quite an amazing number. In the United States, 93% of new generating capacity came from solar, wind, and an ever-increasing variety of batteries to store that power. Climate Action Healdsburg's motto has become, "This is unstoppable." No matter what you're hearing on the news, this is unstoppable. And another statistic, enough solar energy reaches the Earth every hour to fill all of the world's energy needs for an entire year. In 1 hour for the entire year. We're not going to run out of solar energy.
like we're running out of fossil fuels. Global solar capacity has grown more than tenfold in the past decade, and it's the least expensive source. It's the practical choice for powering the future of Penelope and Angelo and some of the children that are in the audience. And if we want to make this about competition, Texas is currently installing more renewable energy and batteries faster than California. It's unstoppable. We found out about Sunday at the beginning of this year, so we were unable to apply for a city partnership like we had during the Earth Day Climate Fests in 23 and 24, but we have the application for next year filled out and ready to go. We also believe that the Healdsburg City Council is much like a homeowner who might be considering clean energy improvements in their home. It takes planning, money, and it certainly takes some risks. People often start with small steps, and then they take larger ones. It might be a heat pump water heater, and then it's an induction cooktop. With that in mind, and with the idea that the council is also taking some steps, we want to share with you what many jurisdictions across the United States included in their Sunday proclamations, and challenge you as a council to include something like this in next year's proclamation. While we appreciate the proclamation, we'd like to ask you to add next year, therefore be it proclaimed that the City Council is committed to doing everything in its power to support the growth and adoption of clean energy, including through city-state policy, public education, and community partnerships. And be it further proclaimed that the City Council will take all prudent actions to speed the approval process for and otherwise encourage residential solar, wind, and battery storage projects. Our future and the future of our children depends on it. Thank you.
Thank you. If you would stick around, we'd like to do a photo, Ty. Oh yeah, please. Yeah. Anybody you'd like to invite is fine.
Over here.
Yeah. You usually see these people having public comments in another way. Erica's on our Sunday planning committee. Not as an employee of Corazon, as a community volunteer. If she has enough time to volunteer.
Oh, I think David is. Oh. It's right here.
Got one important thing to do. Yeah, no. Hold that, you guys get a little closer, no gaps.
Thank you.
Yes. Good call.
Yeah. Vénganse todos. Susana, todos los niños. Consuelo, tú también, todos. Todos, vénganse. No, if you want to put and I'm not, yeah.
No, I do not. I want to take it.
Okay.
You can put it. Yeah, I'll wait.
Okay.
I think so.
Hold on, Eloisa. Come on. Eloisa, vente. Holly.
I'm just here to take pictures.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Hey guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, sorry. I thought he was
That might be close to the biggest group we've had up for a photo. That was really great. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Let's give her a second. Where did she go?
He's over by the translators.
Oh, okay. Fine. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move forward to the city manager reports, please.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I have a handful of updates for you all this evening. First off, in terms of marking your calendars, I'll reinforce, you obviously just heard about the Sunday festivities that are coming up this coming weekend. So that is, of course, on Sunday. I'll note also that this coming Saturday is, and I mentioned this at the last meeting, is the Foss Creek cleanup. So we've got a busy weekend coming up this weekend. And then I don't think I've mentioned previously, but the following Saturday, the 27th of September, is the Healdsburg Arts Festival. This is an event that you've seen in past years, put on jointly by the Healdsburg Center for the Arts and our Community Services Department. That's in the plaza from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So Arts Festival will be the following weekend, which is September 27th. Outside of events, a couple of other things I wanted to provide an update on. First off, I know there was a lot of chatter, and you've probably heard on social media that our fire department responded to a fairly significant structure fire of a residence this morning on Johnson Street. So I just wanted to give as much of an update on that as I can. It was about 10:30 this morning when we received a call and found the second floor of a structure fairly involved in fire. Our crews were able to respond, address the fire, and 2 occupants and a number of pets were all safely evacuated from the property and have been connected to the Red Cross in case they need assistance with shelter while the property is being repaired. I also want to note, and our police department was careful to point out, we received mutual aid from Sonoma County Fire, Northern Sonoma County Fire, Dry Creek Rancheria, and CAL FIRE. It was one residence, but the number of agencies responding gives you a sense that it was indeed a pretty significant incident. So our thanks to all of those agencies for helping with mutual aid, and my thanks, and I know I speak for all of you, for Healdsburg crews as well for responding promptly and ensuring that everybody got out safely. Lastly, I got a question this morning, which I thought was a great one. I wanted to provide a quick update on 2 projects that we talk a lot about, which is Grove Street Neighborhood Plan, Streetscape Improvement, and the Healdsburg Avenue Complete Streets. This council has seen a number of items over the last couple of years, really, in terms of additional steps as we move along in the design process of those. But for you and for me too, sometimes it can be hard to lose it can be easy, frankly, to lose the larger schedule of where we are with those projects. So I wanted to provide a quick update on that. Grove Street remains roughly a year ahead in the process. We're actually really in the home stretch of designing the utility undergrounding for Grove Street. I've learned a little, I think I understood this before, but really understand now how complex it is to design the underground systems of taking utilities underground and making it work, and then coordinating all of the different partners. The telecoms, PG&E is probably the most challenging, and it is the one that we're still trying to work through finalizing the plans with. It's been a fairly enormous process, and I do think we're in the home stretch. We're contingent on some of those partners to dictate the schedule, but on Grove Street, we're hopeful that we should be starting construction on the undergrounding work early in 26. So you should actually seeing this project out to bid, hopefully in the not too distant future, with a contract to follow. And early in 26, we'd begin the undergrounding work. Our estimate at this time is summer of 26 for full-on streetscape construction, with that completing in the following spring. I'm sure our Public Works Department wouldn't want me to say that that isn't contingent on a number of things happening. Most significantly, and this is true for Healdsburg Avenue as well, we need Caltrans approval for right-of-way certification, utilities, and what they call a request for authorization. So there are factors, there are always things that can make these projects go a little bit more slowly. There are rarely things that can make them go faster. But once again, we expect to have utility work starting in early 26, and then spring of 26 for full-on street construction. A lot of similar things are happening for Healdsburg Ave, but that project is a little bit further behind and quite a bit more complex. We estimate right now for construction to be just about a year behind. So we think spring 27 to start, and that one will take longer. So that we think that is a 2-year construction project. So it will be sometime into 29. As of right now, these projects are lining up so that there shouldn't be a whole lot of overlap between the two. Both are significant north-south arterials in town. Ideally, if one of them is impacted by construction, the other one will be flowing very smoothly. There's certainly the possibility that some construction will overlap, and we'll try to balance those impacts with the other goal of just getting these projects moving and moving ourselves toward the finish line. But I certainly want to stress that we'll do everything in our power to make sure that we've got reasonable flows of traffic going north-south. In many cases, both of these projects are not going to close the street, but maybe just some portion and maybe impact the flow a little bit. So we're definitely thinking about that. But both of them are right now, just to recap, moving through the underground design process. Grove Street's in the home stretch on that. We should have that work out to bid shortly, and then constructing in the spring of 26, and just about a year behind that is Healdsburg Avenue. So I know there's a lot of contracts and design work that you see come through these agendas, and not a lot of bulldozers and equipment out there, but rest assured we are making pretty good progress, and you'll see that in the not too distant future. With that, I am happy to take any questions. If there are detailed questions about that last part, I may call up the experts, but happy to take questions about anything I just covered. Thanks.
Any questions? Okay, thank you very much. We're going to move on to public comments on items on the consent calendar and non-agenda items. This time is set aside to receive comments from the public regarding matters of general interest not on the agenda but related to City Council business. Pursuant to the Brown Act, however, the City Council cannot consider any issues or take action on any requests during this comment period. If you'd like to make a comment, please come forward now. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, council members and city staff. I'm Linda Cade. I live on Sawmill Circle. Tonight, I'm reading a letter of concern from a Healdsburg native whose generational family home was burned in the Kincaid fire. She's been censored regarding her opinions of Ariel Kelly's involvement in the accusations of Windsor Mayor Dominic Fapoli. So she reached out to me for help, and I believe and agree with her. Her letter reads, "Hello, council members. My name is Maggie Lilienthal, and let me first say that I emailed each of you twice over the summer about this and got no response except a very brief one from Ron Edwards, indicating he didn't care much. The rest of you ignored me, and that is rude. I want you to know that Councilwoman Kelly blatantly lied to residents and the press in a statement she made within days of the San Francisco Chronicle article coming out about Fapoli's accusers. Had she actually read the stories, I don't believe she would have made such a statement about a man who, by all accounts, was a friend and colleague of hers. Ariel Kelly wrote, 'These accusations are numerous, extensively corroborated, and extremely serious. And I'm calling on town council to take action if he doesn't resign voluntarily.' First of all, what business was it of a Healdsburg councilwoman? Second of all, what proof did she have to say those things? 5 old stories that didn't mention assault were obviously not extensively corroborated by anyone and were not serious, or the women wouldn't have waited years to say something. Also, there were no charges and the case was dropped, but Dominic still deals with the fallout. Next, I learned Ariel Kelly did basically the same thing when she falsely accused her opponent for state assembly, Chris Hicks, That is terrible. I abhor women who lie, especially women who want to be in a position of power. What was her motive in the Fapoli case? Why would she want to destroy a man's life and career with lies? We know why she wanted to destroy Mr. Hicks, but the mayor of Windsor? Did she see him as competition? I don't know, but this isn't the Healdsburg I grew up in when we had honorable leaders. Ms. Kelly has obvious ambitions for higher office and no real loyalty to Healdsburg, and I will work to see she never gets to a higher position because we can't have women leaders who lie. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
That's a hard one to follow. Ladies and gentlemen of the council and of the staff. My name is Jim Walters, and I am here to talk to you about a subject that I think all of you might be aware of. The streets in Healdsburg are like a third world country. And I'm here to show you what happened to me and to my teeth. This is what happened. And if you drive up Healdsburg Avenue or up March, this will happen to you. And thank God, Dr. Bartels took care of it. But something needs to be done to our streets because it's like a third world country. And it's embarrassing. Here we are in an area with the greatest restaurants in America, fabulous wine. Napa makes auto parts. We make great wine. And we've got third world streets. Furthermore, I lived up here for first 20 years in Dry Creek. Then after my wife passed away, I moved into the Greens area. And the audacity of, I don't know who suggested it, of putting a roundabout at the exit of 101 in Dry Creek for like $16 million. Be serious. That is not needed. The four-way stop signs handle that just beautifully. I know because I lived there for over 20 years. Now, if you could take that $16 million and add to that the amount of money that you all spend with consultants in any given year, you could fix all the streets in Healdsburg. It's an embarrassment, and you should be embarrassed, and you should do something about it. I hope you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, please. Hello. Thank you.
I'm Diane Lubitsch. I just want to say, added to what Jim says, that I live in Parkland Hills, and I use that exit that he was talking about to get on the freeway probably 4 or 5 times a week. I've lived here over 26 years. I have never seen an accident. I've never seen anyone be discourteous. They wait for the person. Everybody takes their turn. It's 3 ways. And I agree, the streets are really an embarrassment. If you've been to Palm Springs recently and driven on 101, it's as smooth as our cheeks. But our streets, my car just kind of bounces like that. So I would like to be considered. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening. On behalf of Climate Action Healdsburg, I would ask that, and I hoping this is the appropriate time to do it because it's on the consent agenda. I would ask that you take item 6D, the 2024 calendar year power source disclosure report, off the consent agenda with the intent that this is very important information and the public needs to be able to gather more understanding of the issues that are presented there. We are certainly not questioning the veracity of the report, and we understand that you have to file that with the state. But there's so much important information in this report and so many opportunities to expand our community's knowledge of the information that's there. I'd like you to consider that a lot of us do not receive a utilities bill, and one of the community engagement outreach aspects of this is that the department will send out in both English and Spanish, which is much appreciated, about the PCL, the power content label. We believe that it needs more explanation and that perhaps one of the ideas might be to enlist your new electric department administrator to do some of the same kinds of things that Terry Crowley did when during the drought there were a lot of questions from the community about water issues. And we just have a lot of questions about the power content label. And again, this is a great opportunity for us to work together to try to develop an understanding of what's contained in there and what the difference is between the standard rate and the green rate. I was told today that of the 6,000 utility customers that live in Healdsburg, only 39 are on the green rate. I do believe that if more people knew about the green rate, they would sign up for it. I'd also like to put in a plug for us to figure out a way to help many of the customers in Healdsburg that are having a lot of difficulty paying their utility bills. And maybe this is an opportunity to talk about that as well. So please consider pulling it from the consent agenda and talking about it further. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Holly Hoods. I live on Grant Avenue in Healdsburg, and I'm here wearing my hat of the executive director of the Healdsburg Museum. And I have about 4 things to talk about. The one at the top of my list is a thank you to Ariel Kelly. The museum just had our annual History Lives dinner, it's an honoring of someone in the community with deep roots who is a leader in their field and is generous in community support. Last week, we honored Hank Wetzel and Katie Wetzel Murphy at the History Lives dinner at the Villa Chanticleer. And our museum nonprofit raised over $116,000. And Ariel Kelly was our awesome auctioneer. So she did an amazing job, and I wanted to thank her publicly for that. Also at the museum, just in August, we opened up a new long-term local history exhibition called Many Paths to Healdsburg. And this is basically a living exhibition that we have a basic framework of agriculture and transportation, a lot of the things about the founding of Healdsburg. But then we've also woven in personal stories and different groups who helped diversify Healdsburg and helped bring Healdsburg from a tiny little community village to the thriving community that we have now. The one thing that I'm really happy about this exhibition is it's a bilingual exhibition thanks to Community Services Department of Healdsburg. Specifically, I want to thank Mark Thiemig and the translators Adelena Herrera and Denise Romero. So if you haven't had a chance to visit, I would encourage you to come. We'd love to see you at the museum. Also, I want to thank you for the proclamation for California Native American Day. One of our exhibits right now is a contemporary basket weaving exhibition by the Pomo Weaver Society, co-curated by Silver and Mio, both native Pomo people. It's on display through November. And this Saturday, we're having a native art fair from 11 to 4. 5 different native artists, 2 different basket weaving demonstrations. Hope you can join us. And next year will be the 50th anniversary of the museum. Look for lots of great things to come. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Next, please. Welcome.
Good evening, Vice Mayor Harrod and council members. I'm Mark McMullen from Parkland Farms. I'm here tonight to comment on the Ward Street Neighborhood Revitalization Project that's on tonight's consent agenda. I support this much needed investment in the neighborhood, but I have a concern. We are missing a key opportunity to follow our own arts and culture master plan. In that plan, Goal 4, Strategy 1.5, directs the city to, quote, ensure appropriate artists are part of the design team with intentional effort to integrate art at the onset of capital projects, end quote. That language and the intention behind it is absent from the plan. This is a missed opportunity because early artist involvement is how we transform standard streetscape upgrades into meaningful community assets that truly reflect the culture and pride of our neighborhoods. Research consistently shows that involving artists from the start leads to more inspired and joyful places. In the ESTAT report, public art consultant Renee Paichoki noted that when artists are partners in the process, rather than just decorators, they turn blank walls into beloved landmarks and pedestrian paths into stories that connect us with our shared home. Their presence elevates the creativity of the entire team and deepens the sense of uniqueness in our community spaces. Our Arts and Culture Commission has made building pathways to incorporate public art into infrastructure projects a 2025 priority goal. The Ward Street project is our chance to show this commitment in action and to set a workable precedent for all future projects. I urge the council to direct staff to involve local artists as partners from the very beginning of this project, not just as vendors of decorative elements after the fact. This is not about appearances. This is about building spaces that matter to people who live here. It's about living up to our arts and culture master plan, showcasing that we value our local culture, and ensuring that our civic investments are truly enrich the community. This is how we build cultural infrastructure, not just physical infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. Is there anybody else for public comment? I'm seeing no one else coming forward, so we will close public comment for the evening. Moving on to the consent calendar. First, I know that item 6C, Councilmember Kelly would like to recuse on that one, and I'd like to ask the council if we can pull item 6D, which is the PCL, the power label item for discussion afterwards, and if I guess if we can have a vote on that now. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Nay.
Sorry, I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
What you're voting on now is a motion made by the mayor to pull item 6D.
That's
right?
correct, yeah.
And there was a second for that motion?
Yes.
Very good.
Seconded.
Councilmember Edwards, very good. Okay, and now the vote? You don't need to do it. Voice vote's fine.
Okay, well, all right, so we'll have a voice vote. So
Aye.
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 Three ayes, one nay. Thank Thank you. So we'll pull that one. So what we'll do is we can all vote on 6A, 6B, 6E, and 6F. And then we will allow Councilmember Kelly to recuse on 6C. We'll vote on that one. And then we'll move on to 6D.
I move to approve items 6A, B, E, and F.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Edwards?
Yes.
Councilmember Higley?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrod?
Yes.
I'd like to recuse myself from the vote on item 6C because I live within the area governed by this contract. I'm going to remove myself from the dais so that you can vote on that item.
Thank you.
Go ahead. I make a motion on the consent calendar, we adopt item 6C. Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Edwards?
Yes.
Councilmember Higley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrod?
Yes, and the motion passes. And so on item 6D, I heard from members of the public and we heard again tonight that we would like to have some more explanation and a chance to ask questions on item 6D. So if we could have our conservation specialist, Tara Sampson, and it looks like Patrick's joining me, that's great, to go over this item for the council and the public, please.
Hello, Council. My name is Tara Sampson, Utility Conservation Analyst, and Patrick Luce, Interim Utilities Director, is also here with me. I'll go over a bit of explaining what the Power Source Disclosure Report and the Power Content Label are and some information on them, and then can take any specific questions you might have. So this council item is about the Power Source Disclosure and the Power Content Label. These are two related annual reporting requirements for electric providers in California. The Power Source Disclosure reports on the facilities and the types of facilities that Healdsburg Electric owns or has contracts with to serve the retail electricity sales. The Power Content Label then summarizes that information by the type of facility, solar, hydroelectric, gas, and compares it to the statewide averages. The Power Source Disclosure Report results were included as an attachment and are also outlined in Table 1 in the Council report. In that table, I would also point out that it is because we offer a standard rate and a green rate, it is a requirement to report on those both separately, and those are both detailed in the table. However, there is a different California state regulation, the Renewable Portfolio Standards, which takes into consideration the community-wide electricity for meeting increasing renewable percentages. And so that's why there's also a column in here about the community-wide electricity retail resources. In 2024, 48% of the electricity retail sales were provided by renewable and zero carbon resources. And specifically in 2024, 14% came from solar for the community-wide electricity retail sales, and an additional 7% is expected from the Grace Solar project in 2028. So the Power Content Label draft bill insert will be updated to include the statewide averages that was just sent to us last week from the state, and that will be mailed and emailed out to the print bills and the e-bills to all customers in October. It is also part of the regulation requirement to submit the resolution with the attestation of the veracity of the annual Power Source Disclosure Report to the California Energy Commission by October 1st in 2 weeks. I can take any questions you have specifically about the council item.
Thank you. Questions?
Yeah, you mentioned that we have two rates, the standard and the green. Where is our low income? Is that available on both, or is that just available on one?
It would be available on either. So depending on the, and I use the word rate, the regulation calls them more of a portfolio, standard portfolio, and the green portfolio. Those you can be on any of our rates. We have residential rate, commercial rate, and you could be on the low income bill discount on either of those programs. So if you are a low income customer that qualifies for the CARE program, you could be receiving your 25% bill discount and opt into that extra 2 to 3 cents per kilowatt hour.
Okay, thank you, because I don't know if everybody was aware of that, so I'm glad we were able to discuss that. So no matter what income level you're at, you can contribute whether you want a greener, cleaner energy source. Thank you.
Thanks.
What percentage of households are utilizing the green rate? Or how many customers besides the city as a customer are utilizing the green rate?
Sure. So overall in 2024, there were about 120 accounts on the green rate. That's about 2% of our overall electricity accounts. The grand majority of those, about 2/3 of those participating customers, were the municipal city accounts, and there were 39 residential accounts on the green rate. Again, so about 2% of customers are on the green rate. Because all of the city accounts are on the green rate, they do make up a larger percentage of usage because we have some big electricity users like water and wastewater treatment. Those are energy intensive processes. So 96% of the electricity consumption that occurs on the green rate, 96% of that electricity consumption is from city municipal accounts.
Okay, I don't have any questions or concerns about the disclosure, but my questions are more around how we can do a better job of educating the public about the green rate and recruiting individuals, what the city's doing to share with individual households, especially maybe new residents or people who have the ability to a desire to pay a little more for the green rate. That what are we doing to educate people that that exists and that they can, how to make that shift if they want to?
Sure. Are you asking for ideas right now?
Are we currently doing that?
So we have in the past, when this power content label goes out, included a little blurb that says interested in the green rate. In past years, I actually changed that to talk more about interested in rebates so that we could promote the electrification rebates. We can swap that back out to being the green rate. Again, I would emphasize that meeting the renewable portfolio standard is about the community-wide electricity resources. So separate from however many people are on the standard portfolio or the green portfolio, we have to hit 60% renewable by 2030 for the whole community.
Okay. I'm wondering if there are ways in which, because I think this information is important. I think we are really unique as a public power city where we get to decide what are our sources of electricity, whereas every other city in Sonoma County just has to go with the flow from PG&E or from our CCA. So I'm wondering, I think residents, it's a great benefit that we have this. And I guess my concern is that maybe not a lot of folks really understand this and that we can do more to engage the public. And if we're already printing this really beautiful, glossy, colorful power content label and we're sending it out with utility bills to all of our residents. So that's something that's already happening. What more could we be doing maybe to educate the community? We have a new electric director who's starting in the next month. 2 months, sorry. Not soon enough, but starting. And that could be an opportunity to have our new electric utility director communicate with the public about this and what we're doing, then that could potentially be an opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Higley?
Can you go over real quickly what the price difference is between the regular rate, the standard rate, and the green rate?
Yeah, so again, we have a variety of rates. There's a residential rate, commercial rate, industrial rate. There are these two portfolios, the standard and the green. You can be on any applicable electricity rate, and that would be the standard, and opt to voluntarily pay 2 to 3 cents extra per kilowatt hour.
So right now on the residential, our tiered rate for tier 1 is what, 16 cents a kilowatt, and then the tier 2 is like 28 or something. Is that right?
I'd have to have the sheet in front of me to confirm, but it would be that price per kilowatt hour and voluntarily opting to pay 2 to 3 cents extra.
Okay. And then what's the total that the city spends on the green rate for all of our facilities?
No, I don't have that number off the top of my head. I do know that it does move the needle over at the wastewater facility.
Yeah, so I'll talk and they couldn't hear you through there. So I did poll, again, I mentioned all city accounts are on the green portfolio. So all city accounts pay 2 to 3 cents extra per kilowatt hour. That in 2024 was about 6,000 megawatt hours. So 6 million kilowatt hours. And that in this coming fiscal year, with that additional 2 to 3 cents per kilowatt hour, that would be about $160,000 solely towards that additional fee.
And that's just revenue to the electrical department, right? Electric department or the fund?
That is true, but it's also earmarking those accounts so that we have to provide that level of green or renewable power to provide that. And it affects our REC credits and what's available for, we have to maintain, or what's available for potential sale.
Okay. Go ahead.
If I could add, Mr. Foos's comment earlier was that a lot of that increased additional cost does come from the wastewater reclamation facility. Of that 160,000, about 92,000 is from the water reclamation facility, again, just because the treatment of wastewater requires high amounts of electricity.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then last question, are we able to purchase any nuclear power, generated power? And would that be considered clean?
I have not seen any nuclear power available for purchase. One of the mandates that I received from a previous meeting was to find green and carbon-free power. It's definitely carbon-free. Whether it's green is a subject for some debate.
So from a regulatory perspective, it would not count as an eligible renewable, but it would count as zero carbon. So by 2045, we have to be 100% renewable and zero carbon. It would count towards that, that overall goal as a zero carbon resource, but not as an eligible renewable.
I think it's the same with like hydro as well. There's some limits where it's great, we use it, we buy it, but we don't get credit for it.
Yes, so when you look at the power content label, it is separated out by eligible hydroelectric, essentially small hydroelectric, and large hydroelectric. Large hydroelectric is considered zero carbon, but it is not considered an eligible renewable.
Okay, thank you.
For someone watching this, we've brought this back for information to get the public more aware. If they have just listened to this and they're hearing us talk standard green, difference of 2 to 3 cents a kilowatt hour, if they decide to go with the green rate, what is it they are doing to our source of electricity? In other words, they could say, well, yeah, this is a good thing. What are they achieving by going to the green rate?
So again, they pay that 2 to 3 cents extra per kilowatt hour to contribute towards future renewable projects and every year we retire renewable energy credits to extra renewable energy credits to match the green rate purchases.
So this would help us get to, the citizens could help us get to battery storage or those type of projects that we have out there for reducing our dependence on fossil fuel?
It does create that additional revenue. Again, I would emphasize that we need to meet the state renewable portfolio standards regardless of how many people are on the green rate. We must be 60% renewable by 2030 and 100% renewable and zero carbon by 2045 per the renewable portfolio standards and other California regulations, regardless of the green rate participation.
So as we're going forward, we're going to have to adjust pricing to hit those goals no matter what we do because of the increase in some of those costs. Currently, in long term, it'll be cheaper, but we will have to work on rates to hit those state mandates. Thank you.
My only last piece of feedback is on the power content label itself. It's really hard to discern in the map because all of the different components of the map where you're identifying the sources of electricity that the city is currently sourcing are all different shades of blue and green, even though they represent like the full spectrum of everything from natural gas to solar to geothermal, that it would be helpful maybe if we didn't just rely on different shades of blue and green, but to actually, since or don't include those little visuals that are colorful, because it's very hard to tell what the legend for that map is not color coded to it. So we're using color in a way within the map to draw attention to things, but then the legend below it, the map key, is not in the same colorway. So it's a little bit hard to follow. And I would hate to say that anyone would think it was misleading, that we were trying to greenwash it by saying everything is green and blue, which I know whoever designed this, it's beautiful, is not trying to do. So maybe it'd be helpful to change the way we're depicting that for people who are trying to interpret information visually.
Sure, we can certainly make edits to the map. And I can work on those edits. I will note that the power content label itself, the table, has to near exactly match the state provided.
Table looks great. It's more of how do we help our community digest this information in a way that is meaningful and catches their eye, and I think helps to educate them.
It's useful feedback. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
We're not going to go to public comment on this item of check because we've already done public comment on the consent calendar. So, but I just have one remaining sort of umbrella question, and that's there's a lot to digest here, and you did a really great job of bringing this information to us in a nutshell, if you will. But for those people who have questions moving forward, whether after they get the mailer or what are the best ways to get their people to get their questions answered? Is I presumably the mailer and maybe additional information is on the city website, but what other resources do we have?
Sure, and I will say we have a user-friendly webpage or URL, so you can find this information for 2024 will be posted. It has not been posted yet since we hadn't had this meeting, but 2024 will be posted, and you can view an array of the historic power content labels at healdsburg.gov/power content. So you can provide or view the information there, and the sidebar does have my phone number and email.
Great. Go ahead.
So I have a quick suggestion if you want more people to sign up. When we were doing the recycled water, a lot of people had the signs irrigated by recycled water. I mean, maybe there's a sign, you sign up, you get something you can stick in your yard that says powered by the green rate or something. And I have a feeling there'd be a lot of people that'd like to show that, and that'd be a good opportunity to increase that.
All right, thank you. Do you have any other questions? No, okay, thanks. Appreciate both of you being available for this somewhat on the fly presentation. I think it was well worth doing. And thank you very much. Do we need to do anything further? Do we, I think we need to vote on this. Yeah. We need to adopt a resolution. Yeah. So I need a motion, please.
I move to adopt staff's recommendation for item 6D.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Edwards?
Yes.
Councilmember Higley?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrod?
Yes. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Moving on, there's no public hearing. We're going on to old business. Item 8A, Climate Mobilization Strategy Implementation Annual Update. And this is with our Assistant City Manager, April Mitz.
Thank you very much. It's going to be hard to follow that, but I do want to start out with this report. Just first of all, thanking the City Council for the actions that you've authorized over the past year, as well as thanking the numerous staff that helped put this together. It doesn't take one person to move forward the climate mobilization strategy. It takes a lot of different people, regulatory agencies, it takes the community. So with that, I'm going to jump into the update, the implementation update. So this is the second year that we are doing this update. Next slide. So the presentation tonight, we are just going to have a quick background. We're going to talk very briefly about the 2022 Regional Climate Protection Authority inventory. We'll talk about the Climate Mobilization Implementation Plan status update. Some successes that we've had along the way, which there are a lot of successes, and I'm very happy and proud to be able to report those to you. Also, along with the successes, we've had some risks and some challenges, so we want to make sure that you are aware of that, and then the next steps that we're going to be taking. Next slide. As we love in government work, we love our acronyms. And so I thought I would start this presentation just so everyone has a reference point of the various acronyms that we have regarding the climate mobilization strategy. So the first is CMS, Climate Mobilization Strategy. EV, that's becoming part of our everyday vocabulary now. So those are electric vehicles. GHG, which is greenhouse gas. MTCO2E, this is one of my favorite, the metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. RCPA, which is the Regional Climate Protection Authority. REC or REC, you'll hear that a lot, and Tara and Patrick just mentioned some of the REC credits already. So that is our renewable energy credits. SCTCA, which is Sonoma County Transportation and Climate Authorities, and then also the SS4A grant, which is a Safe Streets and Roads for All grant. So throughout the staff report, I did try to define what each of these acronyms are, but then for brevity of this PowerPoint presentation, I will be referring to the acronyms. Next slide. So a brief climate action history is in 2015, the RCPA began doing its greenhouse gas inventory. And then in 2016, they released their Regional Climate Action Plan. And then in 2021, they released their Climate Mobilization Strategy. So in order to get to the Climate Mobilization Strategy, you had to have the plan, which means you had to have your inventory. So everything builds upon each other. Following that, the City Council adopted a strategic goal to develop a Healdsburg-specific climate mobilization strategy. So that happened in 2022. Then over the next 2 years, the city and the community collaborated on the CMS plan development for the city of Healdsburg. In 2023, in October, the City Council did adopt the Healdsburg-specific climate mobilization strategy. And then last year, just about a year from the date, the first progress update was brought to City Council. And again, we're bringing the second presentation to you tonight. Next slide. So just a quick refresher on different emission sources that are in Healdsburg. This was a graphic that was used last year, and you can see on the far left, the far right, you have your off-road transportation, you have your on-road transportation. That accounts for about 58% of our emission sources in Healdsburg, so that's well over half. And then the next in line is a third, comes from actually energy that's used within buildings. And that's specifically going to be your natural gas and your electricity. So you can see that these are the overall emission sources in the city of Healdsburg. Just like putting this report together, it takes effort on all levels to be able to reduce some of these emission sources. So you do have the state level, you have the federal level, you have the local level, and then you also have your community involvement and your community reaction. So similar to the last item when you're talking about getting people to sign up for the green rates on it, it takes action by community members as well. So that's something that we are also trying to do to educate the public. Next slide. So here's a slide with a lot of information on it, but I'm just going to go over some of the highlights. So this is the City of Healdsburg greenhouse gas emission trends. So what this did is it takes the trends back from 1990 to 2022. The RCPA, I'm still getting used to these acronyms. What they do is they come out with our emissions information every 2 years. So while we are in 2024, once they collect their information, it takes about 2 years for the information to get to us. So we're looking for the 2024 update. We'll receive it sometime in 2026, just to make sure everyone's aware of that. But you can see the blue dotted line across the top is the City of Healdsburg trend line. And you can see that we are trending down in our emissions. I do want to make one quick little point here to look at the transportation. If you look at 2020 versus 2022, that's the only category you see a slight uptick, but that also correlates with the post-COVID, people starting to go back to work. And so we expected to see that a little bit higher, and so that's an indication of that's why the trend has gone up slightly in transportation. But overall, you can see that our trend line is going down. So next slide. So here's our greenhouse gas reduction target. So again, this is specifically for Healdsburg. So you'll look the top orange line across the top. What that is that's basically our baseline. That's where we're going right now if we don't put anything else into place, but it does account for any growth that we might have as well as any building codes and building standards that are in place. So that's the orange line. If you look at the blue dotted line, what that is the state targets. So that's what the state is saying. This is where we want you to be for your reduction targets. If you look at the purple dotted line, that's the very bottom. That's the additional GHG reductions to meet the RCPA target. It is a very aggressive target, as you can see. And then I wanted to point out next the two blue stars on there. The upper left star is that's actual Healdsburg data for 2022. That's our inventory results. So we're using just shy of 85,000 metric tons, which is below the state standard. And then if you look at to see what our 2030 CMS target, so this is if we are able to 100% implement all of the Healdsburg CMS targets by that 2030 date, you'll see we're looking at a little over 64,000 metric tons, which is below the actual state target. So we're happy to report that if we do move along the trend line that we're looking at, that we are going to be below those state targets. Next slide, please. So this is our targets by sector, where the last slide specifically talked about where we want to be with our metric tons equivalent. This is showing how much actual reduction we'll be doing by category. So we're looking at about 24,000 metric tons equivalent of being reduced. And you see the major areas, transportation, 50%, which corresponds with what our major emissions are. And then if we meet our targets, you'll see solid waste and building energy are a little bit behind that. Next slide. So this is a quick summary slide of the City of Healdsburg's actual climate mobilization strategy. So this is the total timeline for 2030. In this report that was given, that Council adopted in 2023, there were 18 measures and 85 actions, and that's what's considered the implementation plan that we're working off of right now. Phase 1 of the implementation plan, that takes us through fiscal year 26, which is next June, so June 30th, 2026. So that's phase 1. So within phase 1, this city has proposed that we're going to be moving forward to start 57 different actions of those 85. So that's a very heavy lift. And I'm happy to report on the progress that we've made. Some of those actions, they're either meeting state mandates, just changes that we can make in municipal operations, new programs and policies that the city is enacting, studies to inform new policies and programs, and then also partnerships and just making sure that we have equity across all of our groups to be able to achieve these goals. So our progress to date is we have 29 that are currently in progress of those 57. Yeah, 57. We've completed 11. We have continuous 8. So part of that 8 is we've already completed it, but it's an ongoing effort. So we're just marking those as continuous. There are 3 at risk and there's 6 that haven't been started. The 3 that are at risk, all 3 of them have to do with building electrification. So a lot of it has to do with the REACH code, building electrification and REACH code, and just certain lawsuits and building codes over the past couple of years that really make it very difficult or impossible for us to actually enforce those building electrification codes. And out of the ones not started, there's 2 regarding transportation, just expansion of a pilot bike program, develop and implement micro mobility. So we're certain things that we haven't forgot about, definitely still on the plan. Some things in solid waste, carbon sequestration, and also administration, and particularly the administration one that we haven't started. We looked at it. It was one of the recommendations in the CMS was to consider creating a full-time climate program manager. Did look at it at the budget through the last budget cycle, and it was not feasible. So just want to keep you apprised of the things that we haven't started and the reasons why. Next slide. So now let's talk about some successes. I will just highlight a few things on each of these slides. There's a lot more information inside the staff report itself, a lot of information on the slides, but I really want to highlight some of the big things that we're able to accomplish over the past year. The first is adopted the electrification and demand forecast. So in last year's update, we were in the process of doing that forecast, and we're happy to report out that council has actually adopted that. We've launched the home energy load management program, and that's for EVs and smart thermostats. So people can really look at their use during high peak demand periods and make adjustments as necessary. We have launched the multifamily appliance replacement program. There is a grant for $21.1 million for 48 all-electric affordable units at the Saggio Hills Phase 1. So that's a very exciting thing that we're working on. And then we've also completed the water reclamation facility energy study. And right now we're looking at various grant opportunities. Next slide. So for water, a large success, and I was very happy to attend this ribbon cutting, is the recycled water pipeline. That is a huge lift. It took many, many years. It takes a lot of different entities, and I'm very, very happy that we've been able to do that. One of the things that is not on this list, it was there last year. I think we're all familiar with the Aquifer Storage and Recovery Wells. Again, another acronym, so the ASR wells. So as you recall, this was something that in 2024, we identified funding. It was reported on last year that we were in the process for that. When we updated the council goals and work plan, we did remove the ASR wells off of that list because we lost the funding for it. But we did make a commitment on a staff level that we would still continue to try to find funding if we can revitalize it. I'm happy to report as of today, I will verify from Patrick over there. As of today, we have submitted a grant application for design and construction. So we will keep you posted on that, but that's some exciting new developments that hopefully by next year we'll have more information. For solid waste, I'm happy to report our Badger Park Compost Hub is operating. We do have ongoing Senate Bill 1383 compliance, or SB 1383. And for those who aren't familiar with SB 1383, It is essentially, it's a mandates the reduction of organic waste disposal. So there's certain things that we're working on within the city. We've had free mini compost pail giveaways that we're able to provide via a grant. Recology has been doing more enforcement. We have making sure we have adequate bin signage, and that's also with Recology. And then the water reclamation facility is diverting biosolids from the landfill to composting. So there's a lot of things that we're doing to be in compliance with SB 1383. And then also I'm very happy to report that in January 24th, 2026, is we are going to be having a reuse fair. So we're very excited about that, and that's going to help keep things out of the landfills. Next slide. So with electric transportation, so we do have our city fleet right now. Currently, we have 9 electric vehicles, 4 plug-in hybrids, and 5 hybrids. So we're continuing to add new EVs to the city fleet. So as we are looking at replacements, we are always looking to see if that replacement qualifies for something to be able to fall in this EV or a hybrid category. We have completed the fleet charging infrastructure at the Courtyard. So this is the EV fleet charging. That's been completed there. And I believe there were 8 chargers that were installed at the Courtyard. One of the things that we have done here is gas leaf blowers replaced with battery operated units. So that's for our Parks and Rec department. We now have a total of 24 city-owned public EV chargers. So again, 8 were the chargers at the Courtyard, and then we had 10 new public chargers that were recently installed. And then we also do have a new EV charger fee structure, and that also includes a 50% care discount. So it's something that we're very happy that we're able to offer out to the lower income folks, is that we can actually give them a reduced rate there. Next slide. So as regard successes for public and active transportation, in the last presentation to council, with both Route 60 and Route 67 were mentioned. I want to highlight Route 67. This is the grant-funded extension as part of the Saggio Hills Affordable Housing. One of the items under the Route 67 was a grant that was received to purchase electric buses as well as the infrastructure. Recently, the SCT, again, another acronym, Sonoma County Transit, what they did is they recently had a leadership change, and they have reached out to us, and we're starting discussions again with them on where to potentially put a new electric charging station for that electric bus, which once it's put into place, it's going to allow us to be able to expand those bus services, particularly the hours that we can service with the electric bus, because then we'll have some place in town that they can actually charge. So we will definitely keep everyone posted on that. And then bike and pedestrian. So we've mentioned it in some earlier presentations. The Groves, or actually I believe it was the city manager update. The Grove Street bike improvement is in design. We're looking at construction starting in 2026. We are working with SMART on pathway extension and river crossing. And then again, we've applied for SCTCA Cycle 2 grant, which is for both bike and pedestrian projects. Slide. So again, for public and active transportation, here are some plans and projects. We've been hearing a lot about them lately. You've been approving a lot of contracts. So we have the Healdsburg Avenue Improvement Project is in design. The active transportation plan was adopted by City Council in January 2025. And then we've been awarded an MTC grant, and this is for the specific plan for Smart Station, the south entry area, and it will encompass the area about a half a mile away from where that planned station is. That will really help us try to activate some additional pedestrian and bike. Next slide. Carbon sequestration. Took me a long time to practice on how to say that. So some of the exciting things that we're doing here is we've completed the Fitch Mountain Access Improvement Project. We had a successful 3-acre broadcast burn on Fitch Mountain Summit, and we also have other ongoing fuel reduction work. We had a successful zero waste Sonoma compost rebate program, and also a very successful city compost hub. Next slide. So here are some of the risks and challenges. We mentioned some in the earlier slides, specifically as it relates to projects that are at risk or projects not started. So the first we did mention is the REACH code. There is a court ruling and new laws that complicate local enforcement or make it impossible for us actually to do local enforcement on our current codes. So that's something that will affect certain actions in the climate mobilization strategy. The ballot measure, last year when this was reported to City Council, there was a 2024 Growth Management Ordinance amendment on the November ballot that did fail. And that amendment would have facilitated additional housing in areas that are walkable and served by transit. So obviously that's taken us back a couple steps, but we're going to move forward with seeing what else we can do. And then funding. So funding is definitely a very large category. The CMS projects do take a lot of funds, resources, staff time, and we are very much looking into that, and we continue pursuing any alternative funding that we can. So it's something that, while you might not see everything out in the public or on a day-to-day basis, it's something that staff is continually looking at. And a good example is the ASR wells and the grant application submitted today for that. Next slide. So moving forward, we've done a lot of work. We still have a lot of work ahead of us. So some of the next steps that we're going to be taking is to continue with the progress on the current implementation plans. So this is for the phase 1 through next June. We're going to be updating the implementation plan to inform upcoming budget cycles. So we are getting ready for the next budget cycle, which is fiscal year 27 and fiscal year 28. So I will be working with staff to see what resources we think that we're going to need and put it in next year's budget and see if we can get it in the budget and see if we have funding resources available for it. Council, it will be coming back to you fairly, I don't know what the time frame is, I won't say fairly soon, but it will be coming back to you to consider using the $3 million in rec funds. And again, this is from the fiscal year, or from the 2024 and 2025 sale of excess recs. And it went to council earlier this year, and council directed staff to come back with more information on utilizing those funds for a portion of the underground utility lines or a solar plus battery project. So that's something that will be coming back. We'll be developing the renewable energy procurement plan using the new energy demand forecast that was approved by City Council earlier this year. We'll complete the design for Healdsburg Avenue, which again will include protected bike lanes and safety upgrades. We'll begin construction on Grove Street neighborhood plan, which is curb, gutter, sidewalk, and bike facilities. And then also complete March Avenue pavement rehab and pedestrian crossings. So those are some of the new things that are coming up. And I do want to provide, again, a reminder. I would not be doing Tara any service without reminding everybody about the rec credits, is when you see the next year's label come out, you will notice, because we had the sale of the rec credits, because we can sell our credits for a higher price, which gave us the $3 million to be able to use on other renewable energy projects. You might see an actual, it will look like we're moving backwards a little bit on our renewable energy, but just to make sure everyone's aware of it, it was a plan that was in place that we were aware that was going to happen, and we just want to make sure that we don't want that to get lost. And with that, thank you. And I can answer any questions. And more importantly, my esteemed colleagues who are the experts in these areas can definitely answer more questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Bring this back to council for some questions. Councilmember Higley.
You mentioned the potential electric charger for an electric bus. I would encourage, I guess my question is, would that also accommodate an electric garbage truck? Because that was one of the issues we had when we got the electric garbage truck for a little bit, is it lose like 20-30% of its charge just driving up here from Santa Rosa. And ideally, it'd be great to have whatever that charging station is to be able to accommodate more than just a bus, but maybe some other larger EVs.
In theory, it's possible.
In practice, it may be difficult, but that's a great reminder. So after we figure out with Sonoma County Transit where it might work, then we can follow up with Recology if there's a way for them to piggyback on it. We're also looking at potentially if the school, if others can, under the same concept. Becomes difficult with the shared space, but that doesn't mean it's not possible.
Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to add, I know that the question was posed at the Northern Sonoma County Air Pollution Control District when they were talking about grant funds that are available through the Air District, because reducing emissions is within the purview of the Air District in which we are located. And they did share, Rob Bamford, the Air Pollution Control Officer, did say that the district has funds to put towards planning efforts or design or development efforts, especially for a shared charging infrastructure. So if the city is looking for funds for this work, or we are looking for a way to kind of bring the alphabet soup of agencies together, HUSD, SCT, Recology, 1, 2, 3, that could be an avenue to help fund it. So I'm happy to liaise with the Air District because I'm the chair of the board, or if you guys want to just talk to Rob, they're in town on Center Street, that'd be great.
That's great knowledge. So for the Sonoma County Transit, it is through the grant funding as part of the affordable housing out at Saggio, but that doesn't mean they necessarily have enough funding. And if we were to team up and do something different, where somebody else would take part in that. There was also talk doing it at the courtyard. So good knowledge. Thank you.
Councilmember Edwards.
Yeah, I know when we were talking last year, I think we were talking about an app available for people with their charging cars and use of energy at home. Is that app up and running yet, or we're still getting that program going?
I'm looking to my esteemed colleague for this.
Sure. So I believe you are talking about the home energy load management program with OptiWatt. That is one of the successes that we were celebrating for the climate mobilization strategy implementation. It launched in late November of 2024. So that is for EVs and smart thermostats, and folks can enroll those to help avoid high electricity use during the evening peak hours, receive an enrollment incentive and an ongoing incentive for their active participation in the program.
And aside from our esteemed council member, are we getting good buy-in to that program? Is that being accepted by the public? Are they aware of that rollout?
Yes, so we've been doing a lot of outreach, and OptiWatt is also helping with a lot of that outreach, different bill inserts, city manager newsletter flyers, direct mail, emails, lots of different outreach about that, and it's gaining in participation. It would be for folks that either have or are interested in an EV or a smart thermostat with their heating and cooling system, but definitely reaching out to folks to let them know that that's available.
Great, thank you. Nice to hear that that's going well. And then I had another question on the not giving up on the aquifer storage. Are we looking at grants that are state or federal? I know that Director Foose had a thumbs up on that.
Thank you for that question, Council Member. The grant application that we're preparing is for a FEMA grant, a hazard mitigation grant, and the hazard cited is drought.
Okay, so we're back on the FEMA one in kind of in a different direction than the previous one.
Well, I understand your trepidation. Sometimes I feel like Charlie Brown and FEMA might be Lucy Van Pelt with the football, but we are at it again.
All right, thank you.
That's great. Do we have any other questions? I have one. And first, I just want to say that it's great to know that the CMS is in your capable hands. That was always kind of a concern with the change in the assistant city manager position. And so thank you for this presentation. It's really reassuring to know that you've taking the time to dig into this and, have your hands on the wheel and that. So thank you for that. Back to the presentation, part of it was a mention of, I think, one of the goals was to develop a climate director position, and it's not something we can afford right now, and I understand that, but I just want to get your sense about the need for that, and having taken on all this yourself. How do you gauge the need for that position at this point in time?
I feel like might be too early to say. It's one of those, I had to get up to speed very quickly on the climate mobilization strategy. So it has taken a lot of time, a lot of effort to do that. I'd probably be more prepared to answer that after another year's worth of time, just to see how, because right now the role that I played in this was really facilitating it with all the different departments and the department heads, because they're the ones that are doing the work very specific to their areas. And so it's really just facilitating that process with them to come together at the end. So I'll turn it over to City Manager Kay to see if he has a different perspective.
Sure, I'll offer a couple of thoughts. I agree with all of that. I think it's important to have somebody in a senior position, as with the Assistant City Manager, serving as sort of an umbrella over these efforts. But I also think it's important that a lot of these efforts are disaggregated throughout the organization. To have one, we had a very different topic, but we've had a similar conversation on other things like how we handle equity issues. If we really want it to be part of the ethos of the organization, it needs to permeate in a number of departments. And sometimes having one person solely responsible can work counter to that. Now, with that said, sure, it would be nice to have another body working full-time on any number of important things. I don't want to take that too far. Yeah, it would be nice. But I think we've done a pretty good job based on the fact that you've had numerous people from multiple departments come up and answer questions tonight. You've heard from 3 or 4 departments, have different subject areas take on climate and sustainability issues. So I think that will be our goal going forward. Of course, it's a budget year coming up, and you'll be reminded, if you aren't already, of probably a handful of different positions in different areas where it would be nice to add staff. I'm not going to make a pronouncement just yet on whether or not that's possible. I think we owe it to ourselves to let that play out. But as I look at things that we're not doing on this list, I see funding as the bigger impediment than staffing. I don't say that about everything we work on, but in this case I do. So I think we would want to be careful about adding more funding for staffing that otherwise might go to programs. We'll really want to be careful to think about what we want to accomplish and then try to circle back around to what staffing we need to do it and can we afford it. But in the meantime, we've got pretty much every department in the city working on this plan in one way or another.
Great, thank you. That answered the question perfectly, and I appreciate that. Different kind of question. You mentioned gas-powered blowers being used with landscaping in the city. Does that include our contractors? And then second part of the question, does it include other landscaping tools like trimmers and weed eaters? Is it just gas-powered blowers in this case? Bring in another department.
I am. This is great. I give a presentation, I bring up the department heads.
Hello, Mayor, members of council. Our landscape contractors are actually migrating themselves over to battery operated over time as units no longer operate or no longer work, gas powered units, because sometimes the resources to produce a new unit outweighs getting rid of a gas powered one. So we're doing the same thing in our parks program. Commercial grade equipment is coming along, but it's not quite there yet. The sustainability of batteries over a longer operating day and those kinds of things. So it is happening. We didn't need to mandate it with our contracts, but they are starting to implement battery powered blowers and other pieces of equipment where feasible. Things like tractors, They're not there yet, but small equipment is, so they're coming along.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Don't have any more questions. I'd like to open this up to public comment then. Okay, is there anybody here tonight who'd like to speak on this issue? Going once? Seeing no one come forward, we'll bring it back and see if they have any closing thoughts here. Councilmember Kelly.
Sorry, I was reserving my comments earlier just to questions, and then just wanted to say that I think that the effort that the city put into putting this strategy together and kind of the comprehensive nature of it, and now seeing as it plays out, kind of the multidisciplinary and multi-department effort that's happening. It's really, it's exciting, it's remarkable, and really delighted that our new assistant city manager is, that you're picking up kind of the reins and running with it. Clearly our city, while we're not a huge city, there's a lot of different components to this project and all the different department heads that have played a role. I'm very grateful, and I think we have the ability to really, we have a statewide mandate that we know we're aiming towards, and we're trying to, while we're experiencing those mandates in other parts of our city, whether it's housing policy or otherwise, I think the more we can get out in front of it and actually design a program that's incremental and feasible and involves our community voice as we aim towards 2045 or sooner, I think it's really great to see how much progress we're making, and also kind of the pieces start to come together, because none of these changes we are not a fast moving entity. That is how government is designed. And so I think to see the work that's happening and also helping us position ourselves to be ready to go when these grant dollars are coming available, I think it's great, because we are able to kind of, again, punch above our weight in identifying, getting these concepts that were identified in the mobilization strategy ready, but then advancing them enough to be ready to go out for grants and opportunities so we can bring home those, state, federal, or regional dollars to help Healdsburg achieve these goals. I think it's great. And so I'm grateful to you, Dr. Mitz, for leading us in this next phase of the implementation component, and really grateful to our department heads who are, diving into it as well and helping to facilitate that. So thank you. And I know we've had a lot of community participation that led into the development of the strategy, and not getting a lot of feedback tonight from residents, obviously folks in the room, but are there ways in which you see opportunity for ongoing community involvement in the mobilization strategy? And can you talk about that a little bit?
Certainly. The answer is yes. We definitely want the community involvement as we move forward with certain things. Like, I know I've met with Climate Action Healdsburg, as well as our Public Works Director, and there are certain aspects, like we've looked at the micromobility. We did apply for grants for micromobility as well, or microtransit, as well as for the tree inventory. And unfortunately, we weren't able to receive those grant funds, but Tara and I are both working with SCTCA on potentially going after some collaborative grant funding. So there's certain things that we're going to continue to move forward with. We're going to continue to look at our regional partners as well as our local partners for any participation possible.
Thank you.
All right. Anything? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to thank Director Themick for the update on the electric uses of blowers, trimmers, and so forth, because I know if we could keep us updated, I know they work fine on my small little lawn with a rechargeable lawnmower. It gets a little difficult when we had our large property. So if we could just keep an update on how that technology is proceeding, because I think it's getting there for large cities and large corporations. I'm just not sure it's there for our small time contractors and so forth. So I'd appreciate us keeping in touch with that. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a couple of comments. I think I've mentioned a lot of these before. Is the focus should be how can we encourage people to help us achieve the goals that we have here, which is the result of multiple meetings. And we're doing a lot as a city, but individuals, what is it we can do to eliminate the barriers for people to choose to buy an electric range or car or whatever it is, because I know talking to my neighbors, and just, my personal experience, you have limits on your existing infrastructure at home. So if your panel, if you don't have room to put a charger for an EV, or you're at your capacity for your panel, it's a very expensive upgrade. So I do want to make sure that we're keeping our eye on some of those things. When we had the discussion about the funds from the credits that we have, we have a couple of options, and I've always advocated for what can we do to help people upgrade their infrastructure. Because if I upgrade the infrastructure in my home, upgrade the panel, do some of those things, it stays with the house. If I decide to move, sell my house, whatever. So I feel like that is a long-term investment in our community to help people, as their gas furnace or gas stove goes out. Hey, I want to upgrade. You go to wherever you go and you're looking at the prices. Oh, this is, you can choose to go green. And so to me, that is, I think we need to focus on that. Let's see. And that's the main thing. I hope we don't get too nitpicky with some of the little things, and just keep our eyes on the bigger goals that we're doing, like the aquifer storage and recovery. And again, whatever we can do to upgrade infrastructure that individuals have in their homes, to me, I think that's going to have a huge impact. And then I talked to Tara quite a bit about the meters that are slowly being updated. We saw a huge impact during the drought when people adopted the flume systems, and you could, check it. And so, when I was going through and looking at my house, like, okay, let's get one of these flume systems. They're sold out. So that shows you there's a demand for that. And I think that those kind of things are really key for helping us move the needle, and swapping out the older meters so that they can accommodate it's the time of use. Versus, I think my meter is the old one. So it's like once a day reading. And so you can start to really hone in on when your electricity is being used during, when there's curtailed energy in the middle of the day, and solar energy is just being wasted because it's just got to shut everything down because there's too much. So anyway, those are my thoughts.
All right, thank you. I'll just close it by saying that these yearly reports, I think, are really important. I know one of the big worries when we did the plan was, is it going to go on the shelf or not? And so the CMS is alive and well, and it's really important for council and community to check in on it. So thank you very much. All right, so moving on to new business, item 9A, a memorandum of understanding with Magical Bridge Foundation for feasibility planning, fundraising, and schematic design services for a Magical Bridge playground at Badger Park. Project manager Tom Campbell.
Hi, council members. Tom Campbell, Project Manager, Community Services Department. This is an agenda item about the Memorandum of Understanding with the Magical Bridge Foundation for a Magical Bridge playground in Badger Park. Next slide, please. Some recent history related to Badger Park. In 2019, the city launched a public process to develop a master plan for the redevelopment of the park. In 2021, City Council reviewed the draft Badger Park redevelopment master plan and directed staff to move forward with preparation of environmental analysis in accordance with CEQA, that's the California Environmental Quality Act. In 2024, City Council directed that that Badger Park's first phase of redevelopment focus on river access improvements and flush toilet restrooms in accordance with a $1 million matching grant from the Sonoma County Agriculture Preservation and Open Space District. Next slide, please. In March of this year, Healdsburg residents started an online petition to create a Magical Bridge playground in Healdsburg. That petition currently has over 830 signatures. In April of this year, representatives from Magical Bridge Foundation met with city staff And in June, the City Council adopted its fiscal year 2025-2026 goals. One of those goals is to prioritize the creation of an inclusive magical bridge playground for either Laura Fish Summersall Park or Badger Park. Next slide, please. Just a couple weeks ago, on August 28th, staff published the CEQA draft mitigated negative declaration for the Badger Park redevelopment master plan and noticed for a 30-day public review period that will end on September 26th, 2025. With us tonight is Olenka Villarreal. She's the founder and chief executive officer of the Magical Bridge Foundation. She's participating by Zoom, and she's going to walk through a few slides that give an overview of Magical Bridge.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Please to the next slide. Magical Bridge. Well, it's delightful to be here in front of you, and I'm sorry I'm not there in person. Next slide, please. I'll just take a few minutes to really talk about why we are excited about this opportunity. Magical Bridge really exists to create a new kind of public playground, one that includes the needs of the whole family. And I don't have to tell all of you there, but you know, Healdsburg is already a very magical place. You attract families, retirees. Some people have lived there for many years. And so a public playground really ideally should be the place that everybody comes together, no matter their age, their ability, or their disability. And so the benefits are cognitive, of course, behavioral, community, and physical. And Magical Bridge is truly the only public playground that really meets the needs of the various members of our community today. Next slide, please. For those that know, the world around us has changed. It's changing. And the Americans with Disabilities Act does indeed care for the individuals in a wheelchair who require public access and thoughtful design. However, as the world has changed quite a bit, we know that every fourth person around us has a visible or invisible disability, and that most people that do have disabilities are actually overlooked in most really parts of our lives. But, you know, today, of course, the conversation is about the playground. And for the 1 in 31 that have autism, for our older adults, for those that have any number of differences, Magical Bridge is for the whole family. So when you have somebody in your family that's affected in any way, it changes where you go as a family, where you can participate in community. And it is very isolating when you are that individual who has nowhere to connect with their community. And Magical Bridge addresses that in a most magical way that makes everybody joyful and create a sense of belonging. Next slide, please. This is a black and white photo on purpose because it is representative of any number of typical public playgrounds, whether it's in Healdsburg, it's in Palo Alto. I did take a look at the, is it pronounced Georgie public playground, where Emily Peterson has taken her daughter, and there is now an accessible swing. But that playground also sort of is representative of the kind that is excluding members of our community, right? So when there's tan bark, when there are raised platforms, these kinds of things are very unwelcoming to many, many children and their families. And if you go to the next slide, these are the many different things that we've identified. So I'm trying to boil down sort of a 20-minute presentation into hopefully 3 or 4 minutes or less. But really, there's so much need for movement. There's need for thoughtful space design, the sensory elements. There's so much that can be done in today's public playgrounds that really bring people together. We've already read about the loneliness epidemic. People benefit from outdoor play and places that really they can join and be part of the community. Next slide, please. And so at Magical Bridge, really in our definition, inclusive means everyone. And so it is the most popular public playground whenever it is in a community. People drive from miles away. It is a destination. It can also be a neighborhood playground. It can be a school playground. So we really have researched very deeply into what makes a space welcoming for the whole community. And that is what we would love to explore doing for you at Badger Park. Please, the next slide. I think we're almost done. I'm not going to go into too much because I know we have some limited times, but the first project started in Palo Alto in 2015 with my own personal sort of aha moment that today's ADA playgrounds really do not include the needs of the whole family. And then it was quick that I realized, well, my neighbor Carl, who uses a wheelchair, can't play with his children, or the older adult that's trying to play with the family can't participate. And really just reimagining what a playground needs to be and should be. And Magical Bridge creates a lot of different areas of the playground that no matter your size, your age, your ability, or disability, you will enjoy the space, and it will become a community asset and a place that will draw people to Healdsburg and will, you'll get a run for the money for the wine or the playground. You'll decide which one it brings more people into your community. All right, next slide, please. The foundation of what we do typically revolves around, rather than the structure that you just sort of see in most public spaces where it's just, kind of gets inserted into the tan bark, we have found that predictability really matters. And so each of our playgrounds, whether they're smaller or larger, we incorporate the need for different elements. So you will always have a place to slide and climb, the swinging. Even as we age, the swinging actually helps retain some of our memory. Spinning is excellent for everyone, but especially those that have ADHD, they benefit from that feedback. The community stage is always a part of a Magical Bridge to make sure that we can really continue to build community through the programming. There's a music element, tots, and we also are very proud to have these kindness and conversation corners. And so I actually want to allude to what a gentleman said in the open comment earlier about his interest to create some more artist involvement in Healdsburg. So every Magical Bridge has original artistic sort of elements that your community will take part in to decide. We actually include artists with disabilities. Most of them are incredibly talented. So we can't wait to get to that point too. But for the gentleman that was concerned about art, that would be a huge part of what we do as well. Okay, next slide, please. And, we like to call it radical inclusion, but really when you include everyone, it really shouldn't be radical. It just should be the way that it is. We are very, very pleased to have now created 11 Magical Bridge playgrounds. We have many, many more in development. There's one happening right now in Marin, sort of not too far, but you will be the first one in this area. And we do know that there are no officially inclusive playgrounds in the Healdsburg area. And as you continue to grow your mission of bringing more guests and families towards your community, this will certainly be something you'll be very pleased to have in Healdsburg. We are very excited to be part of this conversation today, and I think we go to the next slide. And we invite you all to a play day. I know we have some individuals in the room right now that have traveled to Magical Bridge so that students can experience what it means when you create a place for everyone. And we do hope that we can be part of this community. And I'm going to stop there. And of course, we welcome your questions and comments, and really thank you for the opportunity to discuss this MOU with you, and expect that we'll have a nice dialogue in a moment. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Olenka. When city staff and the foundation staff met, we decided to focus our efforts on Badger Park rather than Laurafish Somersall Park, since Badger Park has existing infrastructure in place, an existing parking lot. It also has an existing playground, which is one of the city's most popular. Next slide, please. The Magical Bridge Foundation Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU, the agreement, defines the services that the foundation will provide. They include feasibility and planning, fundraising, and schematic design. I'll walk through each of those briefly, but I did want to point out that the MOU does not address the terms and conditions related to the construction of the playground project. That will be negotiated between the city and the foundation, and if agreement is reached, memorialized in a separate agreement, a design, development, and construction agreement. Next slide, please. Through the MOU, the foundation agrees to pay all costs, fees, and expenses related to the feasibility and planning, fundraising, and schematic design services work using the private donations that it secures through its own fundraising efforts. And the foundation also agrees to work collaboratively with the city and the Badger Park redevelopment team. That's the team working on the redevelopment master plan for the park, including Fletcher Studio, our landscape architects, and its Fletcher Studio's sub-consultants. Next slide, please. The feasibility and planning services that the foundation will provide include leading a feasibility study, including analysis and evaluation of the site, potential playground size and location, and a summary of the necessary support facilities. Next slide, please. The fundraising services that the foundation will provide include conducting fundraising efforts to ensure that the playground project will be funded entirely by private donations with no fiscal impact to the city. And they will finalize a $500,000 donation from an anonymous donor who's already expressed interest in supporting the project. The schematic design work the foundation will complete includes cost estimates, development of a vision and proposed playground concept with the Healdsburg community, including in-person and virtual web-based public engagement that introduces the concept of inclusive play, discusses and develops design approaches for the playground project, and seeks feedback on a proposed design. The proposed schematic design will be subject to review and approval by city staff, the Parks and Recreation Commission, and the City Council. The MOU will terminate as follows: 9 months after the effective date if the planning and feasibility and schematic design work are not complete or the feasibility study determines that the project's not viable, or 15 months after the effective date if the foundation has not secured sufficient private funding to construct the project. Some next steps for the Badger Park redevelopment project. We currently anticipate a public hearing for the Badger Park redevelopment master plan initial study and mitigated negative declaration on November 3rd. We also anticipate bringing a schematic design with Fletcher Studio, our landscape architects, for phase 1 of the redevelopment plan at that time. And right now in progress, our CEQA consultants are working on an aquatic resources jurisdictional delineation report that will help us determine what kind of approvals and permits we might need to do work along the riverfront. Next slide, please. The recommended action tonight is to adopt a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding with Magical Bridge Foundation for feasibility and planning, fundraising, and schematic design work for a Magical Bridge playground at Badger Park, and authorizing the city manager to execute documents on behalf of the City Council. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Bring it back to council for questions. Nothing? Yeah, go ahead.
So I just have a question that presentation, I'm excited about it, but the one element that kind of causes a little pause is the anonymous donation, which for a city that we strive to be transparent, and we need to recuse on things if we have conflicts or things. It's just, I'm wondering if, I'm kind of looking at our city attorney, is there any concern about the fact that it's an anonymous donation? I'm not to the point of like, well, we don't want to move forward unless we know kind of thing. But to me, it doesn't feel right if we don't know if, are we accidentally violating the Levine Act because the anonymous donor may have donated to one of our campaigns, or it just, to me, in the interest of transparency, wondering how we navigate through that. Interesting.
I think the donation was made to Magical Bridge, right? Not to the city. Is that?
Yeah, well, the only concern I have was that was part of the presentation when we put it on the agenda to like, oh, there's already this $500,000. I don't know like the ins and outs of how that came to be.
I don't know the ins and outs of how it came to be either, but if the donation was to, and I don't know a lot about the donation, I will warn you of that, but if the donation was to Magical Bridge and not the city, I don't think it would create a conflict under FPPC regulations or under 1090.
Okay, so like if it's somebody's just, we're an anonymous donor because we want these in various cities.
Ask me the question again.
So if the anonymous donation is somebody that has a fund and say, we're gonna donate to Magical Bridge because we want these facilities, these parks in, these playgrounds in different cities, and we just don't, we want to stay anonymous. That's what you're saying.
I don't think I completely understand your question.
Okay, so the structure is that somebody decided, I really like these playgrounds. They should be in multiple cities. I'm gonna anonymously donate a $500,000 starter fund to get these, say in Healdsburg and Santa Clara, wherever. That's what you're referring to, is somebody just donates it to Magical Bridge directly.
That's my understanding of what happened here. Okay. My understanding is that that the donation, and actually maybe you and I are drawing a different distinction. The distinction that I think is important is whether the money was donated to the city versus Magical Bridge. And my understanding is that here the money was donated to Magical Bridge.
Okay, thank you.
And if I may just add to that to underscore what everyone just talked about, it's Olenka. Yeah, so we, as a foundation, every now and then do get these gifts, and then we, not to this degree, but certainly I think you'll meet shortly in public comment a wonderful family, and we've met many families close to your area. And so I think that they won our hearts, and we thought that this would be the place we would like to apply the gift. We felt this is the community that is the most magical one in our view to work with at the moment. So that was part of the foundation's decision, and we're very grateful for the opportunity.
Councilmember Richards.
So for clarity, this would be very similar to how we accept money for the Foley. It doesn't come directly to the city, goes through a foundation, and then it comes through us. So it would be a similar structure for this type of project.
Well, with the money we've received from the Foley Community Foundation, that money does come to the city. It reimburses construction costs. It flows through a foundation, but does come to the city. I agree with the city attorney based on what information I have here, which is also limited. Nobody's proposing to send any money to the city. Rather, the work that Magical Bridge is proposing to do, that we would support with support and in-kind contributions of some of our staff, this individual or this family, I'm not sure, would fund them directly. So no money would, to the best of my knowledge, no money would flow to the city from this gift.
And then the last question I would have is that we do have that 9 and 15-month check-in. I know we all hope projects go smooth, on time, funded, but in my short time on council, I've seen that very few, I think only the fire station came in under. Are we clear what would be happening at those 9 and 15 months? Because I would hate to disappoint if we got close, but I don't think we have the funding as a city to kind of push it over the edge. So I would like to have that very clear on, if we are not at the full funding goal, how we handle that at the 9 and 15-month period.
I may let Tom speak to what that milestone means. What I'll just say is that we're pretty good in this room at extending agreements when we have to. We'd like to move with a sense of purpose, so we're trying to keep the momentum, but agreements can be amended and extended. In terms of what that milestone looks like, maybe Tom can provide some more color.
Yeah, sure. So my understanding from our meeting with Olenka and staff from the foundation is that the playgrounds can vary in terms of how large they are and what they contain. They have that basic structure that Olenka walked through, but they've done projects that are destination playgrounds. That's a really large, really awesome playground. And then they've also done really awesome but smaller playgrounds that are meant more for like a neighborhood or a community scale. And so I think that part of the process will be as they start to do schematic design and they start fundraising for the project to think about what is possible and work through that. We did talk to some other cities that have worked with the foundation in the past, and we learned that they are very successful generally at fundraising, so that's great to hear. I think we would just have to kind of see where we go, and then maybe we amend the agreement if necessary when the time comes, if things are looking good but not quite there yet.
Yeah, I'm just a little fiscally worried, but I'm glad that they have a 4 out of 4 rating on Charity Navigator. So that's a little reassuring. I just want to make sure that we're clear going forward.
And to answer sort of the flip side of your question, I mean, you may have factored this into your question, so apologies if I'm telling you something that you already know. The MOU actually is written to terminate after 9 months if the planning and feasibility and schematic design work are not complete, or if the feasibility study determines that the project is not viable, or 15 months after the effective date if the foundation hasn't secured sufficient funding. So like the city manager said, certainly we can extend those dates if necessary. However, the MOU is actually structured to make sure the project moves along in a timely way.
And that would come back to council, or city manager would make that extension decision?
If it were extended, it would certainly come back to council.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I have one question, then we'll move to public comment. So I was part of the process of park design when I was on the Parks Commission, and it was a while ago. And I just want to check in to see that these ideas, this concept, doesn't present a departure to what was developed with the community at those times. I kind of suspect the answer is it's fine. It fits in with what we had on the drawing board at those times. But was there any sort of adjustments that needed to be made to those original concepts?
Not yet. So the master plan includes a new playground that is close in location to the existing playground, and it would be expanded. But the master plan is the big idea, right? And we haven't done any of the design development for future phases of building out that master plan. So that would be part of what we would be doing here, is start to work through the playground and how it could fit on the site. And all of that.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, I'd like to open it up to public comment now at this time. I'd like to come forward. Welcome.
Hello. I'd like you all to close your eyes for a moment and think of your favorite memory of time spent on a playground. What was your favorite piece of playground equipment? Now, imagine that you can't do those things because they aren't easily accessible to you. My name is Adelia Schoenberg, and I'm going to be talking about my personal experience with playgrounds and why the Magical Bridge one was different. I was diagnosed with autism 2 years ago. Autism affects me both mentally and physically, which makes it more difficult for me to do a lot of things, including playing at a playground. Playing on playgrounds as a kid could be difficult for me. I was easily overwhelmed by everything going on around me. Not to mention, I lacked the physical strength required to do many of the activities. When I went to a Magical Bridge playground for the first time, I was amazed by all the things they had thought out. The ground was smooth and easy to navigate, and they had wheelchair-accessible swings, slides, and more. There were also little bubbles you could sit in if you needed a break. This is why I was excited when they announced that they were thinking about building a Magical Bridge playground in Healdsburg, where I live. I think this would be a good addition to our community because it would benefit a lot of different people. According to the Sonoma County Department of Health Services, approximately 10% of people in Sonoma County have at least one disability. If we built a Magical Bridge playground, it would not only affect them, but it would also affect their friends, family, and even healthy, able-bodied people. Because this playground isn't just for people with disabilities, it's for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you for having me here to speak tonight. My name is Christine Webster, and I've been a resident of Healdsburg for 26 years. Fellow community members, we are here today to talk about something truly magical, the power of inclusion. We're here to talk about playgrounds, but not just any playgrounds. We're here to talk about the Magical Bridge Foundation and its mission to build playgrounds where everyone belongs, regardless of their age or ability. The problem with traditional playgrounds for too long has been that playgrounds have unintentionally excluded many members of our community. We might think of disabilities as only physical, but the reality is that 90% of disabilities are not visible. Traditional playgrounds, with their tan bark, dirt, and sand, can create insurmountable barriers for those using wheelchairs, walkers, canes, or other mobility aids. And what about children with autism, with sensory challenges, or social anxieties? What about our seniors who want to enjoy the park with their grandchildren? Traditional playgrounds often fail to provide a welcoming space for them all. The Magical Bridge Foundation sees the playground as a powerful tool for social change. They don't just create accessible playgrounds, they design truly inclusive ones. These are places built on a foundation of universal design, where barriers are removed and features are added to serve everyone. The ripple effect of a Magical Bridge playground extends far beyond the playground fence. Inclusive play fosters empathy and understanding in children. Teaching children that to celebrate the differences rather than fear them is a great idea. For children with disabilities, it provides a crucial sense of belonging and boosts their self-esteem. For the broader community, it creates a vital gathering space, a place where all ages and abilities can connect, learn, and grow together. Building an inclusive playground is a powerful statement. It tells every single family in our community, you belong here. It is an investment in our collective health and well-being. And by supporting the Magical Bridge Foundation, we are not just building a park, we are building a more compassionate, understanding, and connected community. Let's join together and bring the magic of truly inclusive play to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening, and thank you for having me here. I am honored to speak about something I feel very compassionate about, the creation of a bridge park for our community. A bridge park will do exactly what its name says. It will close the gap of inaccessibility in our community and parks. In the past, parks were not designed with everyone in mind. This often left families with different abilities left out. A bridge park will be the tool that will change this. The leveled ground and soft landing surface would allow everyone walking, rolling, or using mobile devices to move freely with confidence. Take a minute and imagine a swing that could accommodate a wheelchair. Places that you can retreat to when seeking a quiet space, and lots of shade where families and friends can gather. These accessible spaces would allow grandparents and parents with all abilities. I am standing here before you not about building a park, but building a community where every child belongs and can play with their neighborhood friends. It would be a place where parents and grandparents would feel welcome. Most importantly, the community would not have to drive long distances to enjoy a park where differences don't create limits, but where they create opportunities. Thank you for your time, and I hope you will join me in supporting this idea of a bridge park that will close the gap of inaccessibility in our community. And thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Janelle Broaddus, and I've been a pediatric physical therapist for the past 19 years. I'm in full support of a magical bridge playground. As a physical therapist, the importance of having a safe place to kids to expand on their gross motor skills is so important to their overall health and development. It allows them to get exercise, stay healthy and strong, improve their cardiovascular system, help with weight management, and help their range of motion. These are just some of the many benefits moving does for us. Much more than this, it allows them to participate and play with other kids, therefore improving their mental health and their social skills. Not everyone has a space or ability to have their own playground at home to work on their physical mobility. Lack of accessibility to a community playground is very isolating. Having a safe playground for them to work on their strength, balance, and coordination while interacting and watching others help to make those neuronal connections to help them achieve those milestones even faster. A lot of playgrounds have some aspects that are all-inclusive, but most of them are still not safe or accessible to a lot of kids. This all-inclusive playground will allow more kids with disabilities to access more of the playground and not restrict them. Having to stop your child from playing as they want to due to safety issues gets them very frustrated as they don't always understand why. I am also a parent of a child with epilepsy and know firsthand the impact of not allowing my child to access certain things for his safety. He has absent seizures, where he just looks kind of spaced out. However, during the beginning part of his seizures, he can still physically walk. Therefore, he is not allowed to go on anything that is taller than him due to the risk of severe injury if he were to have a seizure and walk off the playground structure. This severely limits what he can go on and his ability to play with others. With the Miracle Bridge Playground, if he is inside one of the structures, there's very little risk for him to fall off one of the many opening typical playgrounds have. Together, we have an opportunity to create a space where every child and family in Sonoma County can play, connect, and thrive. I urge you to support the development of this all-inclusive playground and invest in a future that reflects the values of equity, accessibility, and joy for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Afia from Troop 10278. I know you have heard many good reasons why we should build a bridge park in our community, but I want to share with you the one that I believe that truly is essential. Before I start, I would like to say I've been blessed with many people of different abilities in my life, and each one of them has shared something valuable with me that has enriched my life. I want to take this opportunity to talk about the importance of children with different abilities playing alongside children of typical abilities. Something beautiful happens when children of all abilities share the same play space. Children will become friends and equals and no longer focus on their differences. There are many benefits for children with disabilities when they are given the opportunity to participate in inclusive play alongside their peers. They develop social skills, build confidence, and form friendships. Most importantly, inclusive play gives children a true sense of belonging, and honestly, isn't that what we're all searching for? I think that the magic ends. If you think the magic ends there, the truth is, it's just the beginning. Children without disabilities gain some important life skills. The power of empathy, patience, respect are learned through inclusive play. They learn their own unique strengths and that everyone has their own unique strengths, including themselves. They carry these understandings into classrooms, friendships, and on into their adulthood. Inclusive play teaches acceptance through laughter, teamwork, shared fun, and friendship. Play is physical, social, emotional, cognitive, communicative, sensory, and inclusive. To sum that up, it's about the connection And when we create environments where all children can play together, we are building a community that values compassion, inclusion, equality. I want you to know that you are not only investing in a park, you're investing in an inclusive play. Inclusive play helps raise children who are accepting, empathetic, compassionate. We, the children, are the future. And that is the greatest investment Healdsburg can make. So let's make this happen and build a bridge park today, a park that will reflect the belief that every child deserves a chance to play, to belong, and to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Avi, and I'm a resident of Healdsburg and an 8th grade student at Sonoma Country Day School. 2 years ago, in our 6th grade science class, we were presented with a design challenge called Make for Everyone. We were asked to consider how we might reimagine and redesign public gathering spaces to encourage inclusive play for all ages and all abilities. In this challenge, we had to learn about the 5 essential elements of inclusive play, as well as universal design. We conducted a lot of research online, looking at community play-based gathering spaces, such as the Boston's Children's Museum, Morgan's Wonderland, and the first ultra-accessible family fun park, located in San Antonio, Texas. Through our online research, we also learned about the Magical Bridge Foundation and the various inclusive playgrounds they had built so far. We traveled as a class to personally observe the experience of the Magical Bridge Playground in Palo Alto. We conducted research and empathy work for our own designs in order to understand what our end users' needs might be. We observed how the play zones were well thought out and designed, not only in their location on the playground, but also the individual pieces of equipment and how they were being used by people of different ages and different abilities at this playground. We found ourselves connecting and having so much fun with our new friends. We came back not only excited to start our project, but also found ourselves passionate about becoming advocates for a Magical Bridge Playground in Sonoma County. We began doing demographic research. We presented to the mayor and city council member in Santa Rosa about our findings and the need of a Magical Bridge Playground somewhere in Sonoma County. As most of my classmates here tonight currently live in Healdsburg, we are more passionate than ever to support our community in building a Magical Bridge Playground for residents of Healdsburg and beyond. Here's a brief summary of what we learned while at the Magical Bridge Playground. We arrived at the bridge, the entrance to the playground, and we began to take it all in. The real magic truly happened. We were amazed with what we saw. The surfaces were truly accessible for all. For those in wheelchairs, parents with baby strollers, and for some of our aging population, like our grandparents who don't get around as well as they once used to. The playground was truly well thought out and set up in zones to make it easy for all to navigate. There was a swinging zone, a slide zone, a spinning zone, and a communication zone, and even a calming chill zone. There was a merry-go-round that was level with the ground surface, so you could enter with a wheelchair, and it had safety bars to secure the wheelchair. There were different types of slides, some with rollers to make the slide not so fast, some slides were wide so that a caregiver could sit next to the person, and some slides had landing pads so the person could reload into their wheelchair more easily. We noticed so many smiles and so much laughter, and so many people of different ages and abilities playing together. I would now like to introduce my classmate and sister, Ella, who will be sharing more about her research and empathy work at the Magical Bridge Playground. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ella Weinseg. I'm a resident of Healdsburg and an 8th grader at SCDS. Our research and empathy work at the Magical Bridge Playground truly opened our eyes to new ways of thinking, giving us new ideas and new perspectives. We thought our Make for Everyone design challenge was just to design a community play-based space for people with disabilities, not really considering or truly understanding what the title of the challenge really meant, Make for Everyone. We never considered that someone with disabilities might actually have family members without disabilities, or that a grandparent might not be able to walk very well anymore, or that a mom with a toddler might also have a baby in a stroller, or that a person with sensory processing challenges might actually need a quiet space to regulate for a few minutes in order to keep playing. We realized that Magical Bridge isn't just for people with disabilities, but it's for everyone to bond and have fun. Through our research, we discovered that most, if not all, ADA-compliant playgrounds check off the boxes to being compliant for accessibility. However, no matter how compliant they are for accessibility, they are not accessible for all, meaning they are not inclusive for all. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines inclusive as including everyone, especially allowing and accommodating people who have historically been excluded because of their race, gender, sexuality, age, or ability. I would like for you to close your eyes for a moment. Try to envision a playground where everyone, no matter their age or their ability, can come together to play and have fun together as a community. Imagine what a wonderful community this would be to live in, where age and ability don't matter. A community where we don't have to think about or use the label inclusive because it just is. This is the kind of community we envision. This is the kind of community we want to be a part of. This is the kind of community we want to live in. Now my classmate Ione, who will share with you some demographics we learned about.
Hi, my name is Ione Weidman. I'm also in 8th grade at Sonoma Country Day School. We recently looked at some demographics of Healdsburg and learned that approximately 29.3% of Healdsburg population is either 65 and older or younger than 65 with some sort of disability. It's really sad to think about that there is no playground in Healdsburg or Sonoma County for that matter that is truly inclusive, where they can engage and play and have fun together with their family and friends. Adding a Magical Bridge playground would not only include disabled people, but would also provide opportunities for everyone in community, making the city of Healdsburg a better place to live. Almost 30% of our community are not getting their needs met. A public playground like this would not only benefit them, but our greater community, as it would help kids learn to not discriminate against disabled people from a young age, and truly create an inclusive gathering space for the people of Healdsburg. We know that we are not of voting age or tax-paying citizens yet we will be in a couple of years. Although we cannot express our thoughts through votes, we still believe that our voices should be heard. We ask you and your fellow City Council members to do the right thing. Consider all the residents of Healdsburg by not only putting money towards building a Magical Bridge playground, but by making it a priority of the city. Let's work together to put the city of Healdsburg on the maps for being a city that truly cares about creating an inclusive community for all of its citizens. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. My name's Cindy Rodenbaugh, and I'm a science teacher at Sonoma Country Day School, and I've had the good fortune to learn side by side with these remarkable young people you just heard from, including Adelia and from the Girl Scout troop. They represent a small portion of their class of 36 students who are equally as passionate as they are about a Magical Bridge playground in our area. They actually did this project 2 years ago and came back, and not one person designed a playground. They were passionate about other things, but they decided that they needed to have their voices heard. So they did a letter writing campaign and started trying to put out what they had learned about. And I also want to state that we weren't asked to be here by Magical Bridge Foundation tonight, or anyone else by that matter. When my students who live here in Healdsburg, we learned that this was happening here, they were passionate about coming and talking to you and having their voices be heard. I personally have had hundreds of students experience this project, and their designs are not just about playgrounds, but all types of community gathering spaces. The amount of empathy, compassion, and their understanding of their ability to stand up for and use their voices for others in their community who cannot are the kind of leaders we are creating and make me hopeful for the future. Through these young people you just heard from, you are witnessing part of the ripple effect that will naturally be created by a Magical Bridge playground in Healdsburg. I've experienced this firsthand over the years with all of my students who have participated in this design challenge. The magic generated is bigger than I ever imagined this one project could be for my students. The Magical Bridge Foundation has it dialed in. They have done all of the hard work and all of the research, and they truly understand the importance of the layout of their playgrounds and the equipment needed, not just to meet the ADA requirements, but truly to create an all-inclusive playground for people of all ages and all abilities. Any playground comes with an expensive price tag. I work at a school, I know what playgrounds cost. They're not cheap. And I know a Magical Bridge playground is expensive as well, but it will be worth every penny and every investment that you put into it and more for the citizens of Healdsburg. And they will reap the benefits in ways that are truly magical. My students and I are here ready to support you all and the other teachers in Healdsburg to make this magic come true for their students as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else? Welcome.
Hello, good evening. I just want to say first and foremost, I feel so moved by the outpouring of support from the youth here. And maybe, yeah, their words are very, way very heavy. So my name is Emily Parker. I'm a preschool special educator, and I'm also the founder of Inclusive Compass, which is a nonprofit in Sonoma County. Our mission is really to dismantle barriers so that everyone can access all of our beautiful community and what it has to offer. And we really believe that every person deserves to feel valued, included, and considered. So I'm here today to ask that we bring an inclusive Magical Bridge playground to Healdsburg. These playgrounds are intentionally designed so that all children and adults can come together to play, connect, and belong. Right now, many families don't have that option. Traditional playgrounds leave children with disabilities on the sidelines when what they need most is to be part of their community. An inclusive playground sends a powerful message to every child and family that you are valued, you are considered, and you belong. Healdsburg has the opportunity to lead by example, to create a space where joy, equity, and connection are possible for everyone. Because when we build inclusive spaces, we're not just building playgrounds, we're building that community. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening. I am Emily Peterson, the one named in the presentation, and you might have received some emails from me. I am a former educator in town, and I became a disability parent in 2019 when my daughter was born with a rare condition. And I started advocating and emailing the city early on, especially with our neighborhood playground. I was fortunate enough that Tom Campbell connected with me 2 weeks after he was employed here, and we met at Badger Park to talk about the inaccessible playground and the minimal ADA checkbox with the ramp that leads to nowhere, leads to bark and like a foot drop. And I am just so excited that we've gotten to this point. I am completely moved by the community that is supporting us, all of the residents and youth that have spoken tonight. As in the presentation, I started a petition, and last I checked, it was like nearing 900. My goal was 1,000, and we might still get there. But this is definitely a need. I believe in Healdsburg, and I'm just so grateful that Healdsburg has listened. I think Healdsburg is the first city that has a universal changing table, which is a changing table that can hold an adult. So an adult who is disabled. Instead, a lot of disability families and caregivers have to change individuals in their car or cannot go places. And our Healdsburg library installed a universal changing table. And this shows that Healdsburg is ready and is listening, and we are moving towards being a very progressive and inclusive place. And I am grateful and just so enthusiastic that we've made it this far, and this is going to be a magical reality. So thank you so much.
Thank you. You have anybody else? All right, seeing nobody, I'm going to close public comment. And, I just want to say it's a good night at City Hall when we have a lot of people here engaged, and we've had that with a couple issues, and certainly with this one. I just want to thank everybody. It's really nice to hear from so many young people too, so thanks for showing up and contributing. We'll bring this back to council then. Start with Councilmember Kelly.
I wanted to thank the members of the public who are here with us tonight and who sat through a long meeting to get to this item. We appreciate it. I wanted to just reflect on a couple comments that Olenka made in the presentation. One being that these playgrounds end up being destination playgrounds. And we in Healdsburg really are kind of a regional hub for a lot of different things. And obviously we're a national or international destination for a lot of folks for wine and tourism and hospitality and culinary arts. And now, and obviously with Badger Park's redesign and talking a lot about river access and that being something that, let's see, when Vice Mayor Harrod and I were on the Parks and Rec Commission together back in 2016, we were back then almost 10 years ago now. And I know it was being discussed well before I got on the Parks and Rec Commission back then, river access and the fact that we have the Russian River right here in our backyard flowing through our town. But yet when you go to Badger Park, you don't really experience the river. And so one of the things that was being discussed back then and that it's a part of this Badger Park redesign process is access to the river. And I know that in those initial conversations with the park design team and folks in the community who've been participating in those meetings prior to COVID, during COVID, was around how do we ensure that river access is also accessible for folks who may not be able to traverse different pathways along the river to get to and experience the Russian River. And so I think that not just looking both at the playground being, truly accessible and inclusive, but also how do we look, beyond the playground in this park and think about helping folks see and experience the river. It's not necessarily the design concept that we've seen thus far about this park isn't necessarily about swimming, but there is a boat launch or a kayak launch, I should say, there as part of the discussion of what might happen down the road. And so thinking about some of those pathways and other things beyond just the playground space. I remember when my son, who is turning 10 on Saturday, when he was an infant and he had extreme gross motor delays to the point where we were seeing physical therapists and we were unsure when or if he would be able to walk. And we visited a Magical Bridge playground. We were those destination tourists who went to, I believe it was Palo Alto or Mountain View or one of the communities on the peninsula, so that he could go and play and experience a playground for kids of all abilities. And I was blown away by seeing that playground at that time, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 years ago now, and how he was able to interact with that playground in a way that was so different than the playground experiences he had had here in Healdsburg with his peers, where here he was mostly just sitting on bark and probably eating a little bit of the bark mulch at the time, like as many kids do, and not really able to interact with the play equipment because he wasn't able to walk up the stairs or he wasn't able to climb in that way on the avenues to get to the platform where the activity was taking place. And I just remember being really struck at looking at kids of all physical abilities, of all ages, and adults of all abilities being able to play in an inclusive way in this playground, and being really struck by it, and then learn more and more about Magical Bridge and how they've expanded over the last decade as a parent, and watching it evolve as this organization. So it's very exciting. And obviously, Ms. Peterson, who I remember, working so diligently to support so many people in our community, whether it was during the after the fire work that she did as a kindergarten teacher in our community and just as an advocate and always championing so many different causes. And so it's wonderful it's not surprising that she has a petition that has over 900 signatures on it because she probably has that many people in her phone right now who would show up at the drop of a dime to say, whatever you need, Emily, we are here for you, because she is really a leader to so many young people and adults in our community. So thank you for that work. And I think just with respect to the idea, I know when we talked about this at goal setting originally, we had talked about looking at either the Summersall Park or on the north end of town or Badger Park. And I do think, per staff's recommendation and where we are tonight, I think that this MOU does, help lead us in a direction where we will see measurable, achievable outcomes in our lifetime for the city in a park that, in a playground space that is really going to be something that I think we all can be excited and proud about as Healdsburg continuing to kind of be a leader for our region. So all that to be said, very delighted to have the MOU coming before us tonight. And I think with respect to, moving forward and next steps, I think, the city does a lot of things where I don't want to say we just, we put something out there, we create public spaces, but if the community isn't a part of it, it's like the process of community involvement and the voices and the work that the students have done, in school and beyond, that it really isn't as good of an outcome if we don't have all of those folks at the table. And so I guess my question would be for Olenka and Magical Bridge, is there an avenue by which we, it's not just the folks who showed up and gave their 2-minute or 3-minute spiel tonight, but how can we engage with them over the course of the time horizon of this project so that we can have an inclusive process that people can be a part of it and kind of giving their voice to it, which I think will lead to a better outcome because it'll be, co-designed with community voice at the table. Is there a way that can happen?
Yes, quickly. So our community outreach is something we are really proud of. We go deep and wide, and I think just with the example of the enthusiasm that you heard, just a small sliver probably of others that will follow. And all those people that Emily knows, we absolutely are excited about engaging younger voices, older voices. We purposefully go and find those groups that typically don't think their voice would matter in something like this, and we bring them to the table and meet them in any way that is appropriate. Sometimes it's Zoom, sometimes it's in person, sometimes it's over coffee. So we will certainly we will come to council with a very thorough representation from the community.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to thank Ms. Peterson for bringing something and making it hard to say no. This has been a learning process for me, going through, learning about this, being a baby boomer and having playgrounds in the 60s that were designed to kill us. It's nice to see that we are thinking about our kids now in a little better way. And I'm really happy with this public-private partnership. It really is nice that you're not sitting back and waiting. You want this, you're going for it, and that's a great way to present projects to council. And I just want to give you credit, everyone who spoke tonight, the time you've put into this. And I believe that you're going to be very successful because you've had a great presentation here. I don't think anybody seeing this can say, no, we don't need this. And I'm really glad that you picked Healdsburg, because I'm hoping that you looked at our city and know that we're a destination, and this would be a good way to bring attention to your project, as well as it sounds like you've thought it very well through with funding. And I know that we have a lot of people here who donate to projects, so I hope that they will step up and help you with this. So I wanted to thank you for the presentation and the time you've put into this and all of your effort. Thank you.
That's very kind. Thank you. It's a privilege and a pleasure.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I learned a lot about this, magical playground. I hadn't even heard of it when it first came up, and I was in DC, and I asked. I serve on the Northern California Power Agency, and I was back there with a fellow council member from Santa Clara, and I asked him, like, "Hey, have you heard of these magical playgrounds?" And even before I even finished, he's like, "Oh, they're incredible. They're awesome. I mean, he just could not sing the praises of it more. And so had a great conversation with him, and did a lot more research, and I'm really excited about the possibility that we have here, especially with Badger Park. Going back to part of the reason I ran for council. I mean, you talked about your kids, but when I ran, my kids were 3 and 5 years old, and we used to go to Badger Park, and the playground there was challenging back then, like the little roller things that the kids would use. And I mean, it was just, you know, a lot of the things that have come up, and, you know, things do take time with the city. And I'm, you know, just looking at the presentation and just imagining that at Badger Park, knowing where, you know, where my family was, and, you know, watching our kids in that context where we were at the time, you know, having a playground structure like this. And what really jumped out for me was the performance area, you know, that kind of thing where you can really start to see kids blossom and gain confidence from public speaking, and like we saw tonight. So I support moving forward with this. And the one tweak that I would like to have included is under the MOU, there's obligations of the parties. It says city agrees to work collaboratively on the project, assist the foundation with developing and delivering a community engagement and feedback process, and regularly update the foundation on the status of the redevelopment. And I want to make sure that's a two-way street. It's not just the foundation off on their own doing things. It's a collaborative thing with the city, so that we're also getting regular updates. So we're not surprised by, oh, it's veered way off over here, and we're not part of that conversation. So that's kind of where I'm at, and seeing the volleyball players out there. Next up is sand volleyball courts, right? All right. That's all I have.
So, just to clarify, are you proposing a specific change to the MOU, or just to emphasize something?
If you want to modify that, if it's needed. If you feel it's needed, that's kind of, I just want to make sure it's a two-way street, not just we update.
And I don't want to speak for the foundation. I certainly believe that's the intent. I will also note, I'm just pulling up the party, I think you're quoting obligations of the parties, section 5. Under C, the last sentence is the foundation agrees to work collaboratively with the city and the redevelopment team. So
I'm glad you already put that in there. Thank you.
All right, we're good. All right, thank you. So I just want to thank someone who's not here, who brought this issue to my mind early on in my public service life, and that's Patrick Urena, who lives in town, who has a son who uses a wheelchair, and I really appreciate that he opened my eyes to this need in town. And so because of our friendship, I've been able to carry that along. And I was always kind of waiting during the park planning process while I was on the Parks Commission for the time to say, okay, inclusion, how are we going to do that? What's it going to look like? And you know, we're there, and you know, the second person who deserves a lot of thanks is Emily and Ryan and Ainsley. This family has so much heart and so much generosity, and they've been here at City Hall with us for a while now, and on different occasions. And I really appreciate how you've shared your challenges and your successes. It's really so inspiring, and I think it's created a great foundation for a true upswelling in our community to support a project like this. And it's something I think that really it's not just a matter of pride. I think it really does actually reflect something natural about this community, that we have compassion, that we value inclusion and diversity, and it's something very real about that. And a lot of the comments tonight, I think, underscore what that really looks like. There were so many really great sentiments from everybody, and so I think this is something the community is really going to embrace. It feels like we have support here, and so I want to thank you so much, Emily, and all the people that you're working with to help make this happen. So with that, I would, yes.
Sorry, I just have to make a disclosure. So I want to disclose that I'm an unpaid volunteer on the board of a nonprofit, which has been involved in directing the anonymous donation. So I've cleared that with our city attorney and just had to state that for the record, but is not a recusal. It's just a disclosure.
Appreciate that. Thank you. At this point, I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'd like to adopt a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding with Magical Bridge Foundation for the feasibility, planning, fundraising, and schematic design work for a Magical Bridge playground at Badger Park, and authorize the city manager to execute documents on behalf of the city council.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Edwards?
Yes.
Councilmember Higley?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrod?
Yes, and the motion passes. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, that was a big one. I'm really glad that happened. So, moving on now to council reports on matters of interest occurring since previous regular meeting. Who would like to go first?
Yeah, last Saturday I was with Mayor Mitchell for the Garrett's kickoff month for the Canine Companion fundraiser. It was really nice to see the number of dogs there, the number of people, and that program is really nice, and glad we were able to have a resolution for that. I also attended with the whole council, the opening of Appalachian this past Friday, which was really, I have to say I have worked with Chef Palmer before in the past, and it's really nice to see him continuing and how he is. I met him when he came to Healdsburg, and it's really nice to see how he has taken us in and really made this his home and really helped expand some things and bringing a different approach. And it's really nice to see that we have a different type of attraction, not just based on wine, but based on the food and our whole environment. So that was really nice to see that project come to fruition.
Okay.
Nothing to report.
I'll just share, there is an event so in addition to the Appalachian ribbon cutting, and I wanted to share that there's an organization called Trellis that is coming to do some small business outreach in Healdsburg. It's TRELLUS, and they are an organization that is working to create a network of same-day delivery, a la kind of an Amazon, but for local small businesses. And so they are meeting with small business owners in and around Healdsburg, and they want Sonoma County to be kind of a test market for this app product that they're creating. And so tomorrow morning at Dragonfly Floral, they are doing an informational presentation, but there was a recent story in the Press Democrat about their work. And then also, I just wanted to comment that, and I didn't want to while we had a room full of young people because of the sensitive nature of the comments, but I was really struck and disappointed by the comments that were made earlier in our meeting. And I just wanted to state for the record that approximately 1 in 5 women in the United States have reported experiencing rape or sexual violence in their lifetime. 1 in 2 women have experienced some form of sexual violence other than rape. 1 in 2 women. And these are statistics from studies like the National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey. Sexual violence is a significant public health issue and high lifetime prevalent rates for women. There were 14 women, not to be confused with whatever misinformation was shared earlier. 14 different women came forward to accuse Windsor's former mayor of sexual misconduct. Those civil cases are actually still proceeding through the judicial system. And so while dozens of elected officials, including our member of Congress, our state senator, our county supervisors, all of whom were men, also said the same public statements, there are women who are attacking 2 women for our comments on the record about how disgusted we were at this conduct. And so I just want to state that I am not alone in someone who has amplified the voices of these victims and of any victim of sexual violence, that we should hold our leaders to a high standard, and that there are, unfortunately, there are women in our community who are attacking myself and Supervisor Linda Hopkins for our comments that were made many years ago at the same time that many men were also making the same comments, but for whatever reason, they are choosing to attack us, which is very disappointing and disheartening. And so for all of those victims, I hope that they continue to seek justice. And for those women who are brave enough to come forward at whatever time, I want them to know that their leaders will always believe their stories and that our judicial system will bend toward the arc of justice, always. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. So I was able to attend the Pachanga event on the plaza, which was really, really beautiful. A lot of fun, art, music, great connections with people. Once again, proving that Healdsburg does events right. It was really special. And so happy I was able to make that. I also was able to attend the opening of the new community center that Positive Images has in Santa Rosa, and applaud their work with LGBTQ people throughout the county. So that includes Healdsburg, and they've been to Healdsburg for some of our events, and so I was happy to come celebrate their new facility with them. And then I just wanted to mention that Saturday, Foster Creek cleanup, always a good time. Hope I'm not alone, guys. But I always enjoy this event. It's a little grubby, but it's really satisfying work, and it's just a really great way to connect with the town. So I hope we have a good showing for that. And with that, I will close the meeting at, what time do we have? 9:03. Thank you.
Yeah.